Hello everyone, how's it going on this beautiful Monday morning? And if you happen to be in Europe, then it is a beautiful Monday afternoon / evening, I guess, for you guys. Like it says, guys, it is time to learn. Today we're going to be talking a bit about how to play from behind. We're going to go over pretty much what it means for every lane. And yes, it will be EU West today. I'm going to give you guys some love over there across the pond. So let's get things started here. So just one second. Let me just change this really quickly. Perfecto. There we go. So we have little timers at the top now to keep me a little bit more on track when it comes to, making sure we're moving along and we're staying on course. So for the introduction today, like I said, we're going to be talking about how to play from behind. I hope that you guys are excited about this because I'm really excited about this. This is a question I get a lot, is how to play from behind. And we're going to be covering pretty much that for every single role. We'll be talking about support, AD, what it means for the mid, top, and the jungle. Now, I think the most complex of these is probably the jungle. Everybody else kind of has more straightforward things to do / habits to build, because a lot of the time you will be trying to play as if you are even / ahead. And I think some of you guys might have that habit where you don't really bite the bullet and say, I'm behind, I have to play like I'm behind. You pretty much play the same as normal. When playing from behind actually doesn't mean you give things up all the time. Sometimes it means you make them fight tooth and nail for exactly what they're trying to get. Or they have to overcommit for it. So that's basically what we're going to be covering here today. We're going to do that. We're going to have a brief Q&A for about 5 minutes after that lesson. And then we're going to have a live game on EU West. And you guys kind of requested it. What we're going to do is we're actually going to look at some bronze players. Now, I know it's fun to do that, but also, since we're going to be looking at some bronze players, and we can't necessarily do a scripted play from behind type thing where I'm like, oh, hey, go into a custom game, hey, you guys throw, so the other team can play from behind. We're not going to do that. We're instead going to watch a bronze game, and we're going to go through ways that people do and don't play from behind, because, of course, somebody's got to get behind in that game, right? So when somebody gets behind, we'll start looking at kind of what they do to stay in the game, what they are not doing, and what they should be doing, of course, in those situations. And we'll pretty much be trying to target every single role, all 5 of them in that one. So it'll be a really pause, stop, and go game on our end, because we'll be analyzing a lot of things. But on their end, the 10 viewers, you guys who are in bronze, we'll be making sure that you guys are pretty much going through the game and not trying to throw or anything like that, but trying to show off your skills as much as possible. So at the beginning here, we're going to be talking about, is there a viewer game? Yes, there is. At the end, like I just said, there's a live game thing. Also, we're going to be looking at bronze and a little bit of silver. So we're going to be looking at both of those. It would be silver, bronze in that area. Just kind of up it a tiny bit, not go bronze, iron like we did one time. So if you have it, guys, and you have any questions, we're going to be going into the lesson very soon. So feel like a true gamer geek? Well, I mean, we're all a little bit of a geek here, What server am I on? I am on EU West. I've said that a lot. And that'll be the last time that I'm answering that question. If anybody else asks, you guys can answer them in the chat. All right? So if anybody else has a similar question that we've already answered, you guys can help them out in the ProGuides family. You guys just let them know. It'll be on EU West. It'll be silver and bronze. And with that done, now we're going to move right into the lesson itself. So, playing from behind. It sounds easy enough, and I'm sure you guys have encountered situations where you've been behind. Everybody's been behind at some point, some way, shape, or form. And I can't take the right summoner spells, but it doesn't quite matter for the practice tool anyway. So, everybody's been in a game where they've been behind, right? You guys aren't 100% win rate, just absolute stomping it, and then they'd be in the EU LCS or the LCS, and, you would be undefeated. But, sometimes people fall down, sometimes people lose games, and not everybody gets to stay on top forever. So, the way that we're going to be going about this is we're going to start talking about the roles. So we're going to start with the top lane, and we'll work our way down, saving jungle for pretty much the last. So when you get into the game, oh, I don't know what that is. Excuse me. Well, regardless. So when you get into the game and you go top lane and you get behind, something tragic happens in the game. Maybe Maybe you end up having a bad level 1. Maybe your top laner gets a kill. Maybe you end up feeding underneath the turret. Many different things can happen. But when those things happen, you can't really play the same way. I would say a lot of the time the biggest mistake that I encounter in League of Legends is that people are constantly trying to play the exact same way as if they were still even. Now, that means top laners will continue to fight each other. You'll continue to damage check the other top laner. You'll trade with him and realize very quickly that you can't trade with him. Or maybe you're one of those OP champions where it really doesn't matter. You maybe hit a power spike that's good for you, and you know your champion through and through. But typically, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to seed things to the enemy top laner. When you can, as the top laner, and you're behind, when you can shove it, absolutely take that opportunity. Now, the biggest thing about playing from behind that I said people make as a mistake is playing as if they are even/ahead. Now, I want to make a little bit of a differentiation here, is don't just play scared when you are behind, right? What you need to be doing as a top laner is constantly checking the enemy top laner for his items, his backs. Has he backed? Has he spent that gold? Because a lot of the time people stay in lane with 2,000 gold, and you are actually stronger than they are. So if you're looking for some type of advantage, you want to actually take advantage of their inventory. Check their inventories often. That is the number one tip I can say for playing from behind, is check if they have actually spent that gold that they got from you. If they haven't spent it, that is a prime opportunity to go ahead and take advantage of it, to shove them into the turret, to trade with them, or even get a back off yourself after you shove the wave. So don't play scared, just play smart, okay? When you get behind, you're going to have to use more of your brain. People have this happen all the time where they get ahead and then they just go brain dead, right? You get ahead, you go on autopilot, you just play the game on autopilot and you just go, okay, we're just going to push, I'm going to mindlessly shove, I'm ahead, it's an advantage, blah, blah, blah. But when you're behind, a lot of people actually engage their brain more and they go, okay, what can I do to win this game in a losing position? So you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to say, what do they have in their inventory? You're going to have to look at when you can shove the wave. Now, the fact that you got behind means that something went wrong. And so you need less things to go wrong in the future because they're already stacked against you, right? You have to focus your attention and make sure that nothing else goes wrong. Don't overtrade. Don't get ganked in your lane, all right? If you're getting ganked in your own lane, you need to run to your turret. You can ward over here and place defensive wards, or even this ward is better where you place it over the wall. And you can see them coming a little bit earlier. But also, making sure that you don't lose more. Now that means don't die underneath your turret. Back off. It's okay to lose CS. People contest too much for CS when they're going to get dove, and it's a bad position. Then you also have an issue when you're playing from behind of, I would say, building too offensively. A lot of times people will still go for their same normal build when they're behind. If you're a top laner and you're having to rush Black Cleaver and you're one of those Black Cleaver top laners, and you get behind, building Black Cleaver is not really going to keep you in the game. But Black Cleaver is going to, I would say, even though it's a part of your core build, it's not going to help you get to the rest of your build, if that makes sense. If I kill my enemy top laner, and I get 400 gold from him for first blood, and I spend that gold, now, statistically, it is easier for me to kill that guy again, because I have a longsword over him, right? I actually have more combat stats than him, and I already killed him once. So it actually is easier for me to kill you a second time, and a third time. And all subsequent times that I actually kill my opposing top laner, it should be easier to kill them another time. So if you buy a longsword, and I have now 2 longswords, I still beat you. And you haven't done anything to negate my damage. In fact, I have just gained damage, and you've gained damage. You've gained slightly more ability to kill me, but you haven't gained more of an ability to avoid me or to reduce my damage. So my damage constantly goes up versus the amount that I had already dealt to you before, so I should be having an easier time killing you. In order to negate that, building defensive stats early like a Ninja Tabi, or building something that's going to give you, if you were building Black Cleaver, building the Kindle Gem portion, or coming back with 2 Ruby Crystals instead of a Ruby Crystal Longsword, just to kind of have more survivability in the lane. Now, being able to CS is a good part of, having damage, but it can keep you in the game, but I would say health and armor and MR are going to go a little bit further in the early parts of the game if you get behind. So it's okay to build defensively early, and build for those parts. You see mid laners all the time build Merc Tread's first item when they're in a bad matchup, because if they built their normal damage item, then they would actually be in a worse position, right? So mid laners, for example, they really have already kind of ingrained in a lot of their builds that they should be building when they're behind in the matchup. Not behind in the game, but behind in the matchup, right? When they don't shove as easily, when they're maybe going to be taking the L in the early part of the game, they will buy Merc Treads. They will buy an item that negates what the enemy wants to do. Dodge Syndra Qs, make sure they aren't stunned for as long, have some MR. A lot of people will buy it versus LeBlanc, right? So that's kind of the idea behind playing from behind in the top lane, is even if your itemization is supposed to be aggressive, buying something that is less offensive and more defensive may be the ticket here. Avoiding the top lane ganks if people are going to dive you under turret, and making sure that the enemy is at least fighting for things and having to play smart themselves. Make sure that you punish people when they don't back. Make sure that if they push the lane up, that you potentially freeze it on them. And also the last key part of playing the top lane from behind, I would say, is that you need to make sure that if the enemy is still playing, I would say, aggressively, that you can potentially call your jungle up, give some wards down, and make sure that he's a little bit easier to kill. So you need to be not playing scared. You need to be playing smart. So like I said, making sure that the jungler can come up and has like an easy route to get to you, has a clear path to kind of affecting your lane, is a big part of playing from behind. Now that also means things like don't give up CS for free. If you're a ranged top laner, still hit the guy, right? If he goes for a dragon, make sure that you're making him pay the maximum for going for a dragon. If he's going for your turret, make sure he pays the maximum for going for your turret, like placing a control ward down when you back up here, placing one over the wall, denying his vision. Make sure you make them pay the maximum for what they're trying to get. When you're playing from behind, everything, if you just trade it 1 for 1, they're still going to be ahead at the end of the day, right? They're still going to get more out of it. They're going to go, okay, I traded 6 CS for 6 CS, but I already have a 6 CS advantage on you. So you're not closing that gap at all. Right? If you play scared, you're actually going to make that gap wider. So if you actually make them fight for everything that they get, but also don't overfight for it, then you put them in a position where they might get 5 and you might get 6. And you can start closing that gap a little bit. If they start going for my turret, I place the control ward. Maybe we get a kill back. You can make them pay the maximum for it. If they go for dragon, you shove the wave. You kind of make them think about what they need to do for that dragon. Or you go for a dragon after you shove a wave into their turret. You have to make them pay the maximum for it, or else they're just going to be getting away with murder for free for the entire game. So, for the top lane, we just covered that. Now let's move on to the mid lane. We talked about this just a tiny bit already, where the mid lane, pretty straightforward, I would say. But mid laners already have a good idea of what they need to do against the enemy mid laner. If you're a Ryze, a lot of times you will be building a tier early, and then you're going to be building something a little defensive. People try and rush things like the Archangel Staff ASAP, but after that, a lot of times you'll see Merc Treads come out against bad matchups. You'll see them buy it versus LeBlanc. Sometimes Orianna's buy it versus LeBlanc. You don't always need that spell penetration, especially on champions that scale pretty damn well. All you need is to make it through the early game. So if you're a champion that is behind, kind of have the same mentality. If you get behind early, you need to play as if and buy as if you are a champion that needs to scale. Because if you don't buy defensive early, you'll never get that chance to scale. You'll end up 0-4 instead of the 0-1 that you were at the start of the game, and it'll just snowball on you. So you need to stop that snowball ASAP. You need to buy defensive, you need to buy things that are at least going to let you contest waves, and I would say that that is the order in which you should buy them. So, things that give you staying power in the lane. Merc Treads, buying something like an early Negatron Cloak or a Null Magic Mantle even, and not even buying that into Merc Treads if that isn't part of your build, and holding on to that for later. We'll see things like people will buy the Ruby Crystal portion of a Liandry's, or even an Oblivion Orb, right? So buying more, even if you're heading towards the same item, of the defensive part of the components instead of the offensive part. And that'll prevent them from actually snowballing on you. Now, like I said, you do have to play a little bit smarter here because you have to CS a little bit better. You aren't going to have that give me just completely CS the wave immediately portion of the AP that you want. If you are a mid laner like Talon, now Talon is an interesting case because when he's behind, his play pattern isn't so much in the itemization, it's more in how do I make sure that I affect the game because I can't really affect my lane. So Talons and Zeds will run into this where if they get behind early, they feel almost useless against their lane opponent because their lane opponent is higher level, more combat stats, more burst potential on them even. So you have to analyze the situation correctly and know whether or not you can kill them. If you can't kill them, you should be going for your mobility boots as soon as possible and affecting other lanes if you can't affect your own. Affect the game instead of your lane and try to get other lanes ahead. You may become something like a second jungler for during the early parts of the game and the mid game, and then eventually you'll scale into what you should have been if you weren't behind. But you can't get there without actually making some sacrifices. You'll lose your turret maybe, you'll lose some pressure in the mid lane, and ultimately you want to be able to still help your team. If you're just sitting under turret CSing, you aren't really helping your jungler get pressure, he might get collapsed on in the jungle, and the whole game kind of falls apart. So if you're able to CS as soon as possible, maybe buy a Tiamat to help clear the wave out to free you up, and maybe even Merc Treads or to survive a matchup, but mobility boots is typically the way that a lot of those roaming champions will go. And if things kind of, change up in the later parts of the game, you can sell your mobility boots and get something else. But in the mid lane, it's usually pretty solved right now. I feel like a lot of people do this where they will roam instead of affect their lane, play for wave clear, I think is the other portion of that, and also play for affecting other lanes. So the three things I guess you should take away from mid lane is, one, defensive itemization if you're in a matchup where it requires it. And if you got behind, to go for that defensive itemization like Merc Treads, etc. If you are a roaming champion and you can't really affect your lane in particular right now, what you should do is you should go affect other lanes if you're behind, because they might not be ahead of you. Your lane opponent's ahead of you, but the other lanes might not be ahead of you. If your lane opponent solo killed you, getting things like Tiamat Merc Treads or Tiamat mobility boots and moving to the other lanes is going to be much more worthwhile than staying in your lane. You don't cause any pressure staying in your lane, and you're kind of locked down and caged in. And the third thing that I would say about mid lane is that we talked about itemization, we talked about the roaming around and affecting other lanes. The third thing I would say is trying to get pressure with wards. When you're behind, warding becomes even more important because you don't want to lose and get choked out of the vision game. And when you're mid lane, you're central to all other objectives. So you need to pick a side and you need to say things like, am I going to go for the dragon? Am I going to go for the Rift Herald? Which side am I really going to help out here? And once you ward, that frees up step number 2 that I talked about with roaming. So once you have adequate wards, you can have adequate roaming potential to catch people off guard, to even catch your own mid laner off guard. So third step is warding when you are behind. It's a little bit harder to do, but it's something that you should always try to do when you're behind. When you're ahead, you should definitely keep it in mind, but when you're behind, it's even more important because they're going to be trying to remove your vision and try to choke you out of the game, and you want to punish them if they aren't doing that. If they aren't choking you out of the game and they give you any breathing room, you want to make them regret giving you that breathing room. Now let's move down to the AD carry role. And the AD carry role is probably one of the, I would say, strangest roles in the game because it's really easy to understand top lane, it's really easy to understand mid lane, and then it's a little more complex for jungle, and support kind of is a gimme where you understand if my lane is going bad, where should I go, what should I do? AD is a little more complicated. For AD carry, you have to kind of judge the wave more than anything. If you start losing your lane and it's a 2-on-2, you have to kind of wait for a specific point in the game. You are locked down a bit. You have to wait for a specific point in the game, whether you're queued off of your jungler doing dragon and you need to go assist him, or if the enemy starts freezing the wave on you because you contested CS, you should back, go Rift Herald, make a power play top lane. There's really, I would say, more complex things to do in the AD role because everybody considers it like a farming role, right? And that you should just be stuck in the lane getting CS, and that you should always try to just get the money so that you can scale. But if they're preventing you from scaling and they're smart players and they're doing something like freezing, like I said, you should be backing, going to the top side with the Rift Herald, killing the Rift Herald, and making a power play top lane to potentially get plates and open up the lane. And then what will happen is that you'll have a long top lane and there will be a short bottom lane, so that you might be able to actually go into a top lane that comes into you and you can ward up with your support. And then you can actually hold these waves and contest them and basically catch them. And you might be even avoiding the enemy bottom laner who is ahead of you. But ultimately, when you're playing AD, you are queuing off of other things in the game. You're queuing off, am I going to be doing dragon? Am I going to have a position where they are freezing and I can go ahead and do this? But a lot of the same rules apply as for top lane. This is not like the big item defensive kind of thing because you don't really have the money to spare in defensive itemization for AD carries. If you buy like Ninja Tabi, your damage output is severely nerfed in the mid game. If you buy something like a pickaxe and critical strike cloak, you still have to get like 1300 gold before you end up getting your BF sword. So you put yourself pretty far behind when you make moves like that. And it does kind of suck as the AD. And this is probably the most unique role when it comes to playing from behind, because you're very easy to kill, and you're probably one of the most diveable roles in the game, where people will be coming after you bottom lane. So I would say the 3 things to remember for the AD carry role is be sure to watch your team when you're playing this role. When you are watching the macro game of am I doing dragon, am I going to make a Rift Herald play, queuing your team up for that and also understanding what the enemy is doing is probably step number 1 to playing from behind as AD. Because like I said, you don't want to just give things for free, but you don't want to stay stuck in this lane against this guy who's stronger than you and try to keep taking 2-on-2s. Because when 2-on-2s go bad in the bottom lane, they get 2 kills out of it, right? It seems obvious, but like obviously they get 2 kills out of it. That's why you see like 0-10 bottom lanes all the time. Because they get behind and then they don't know how to play from behind. Because they feel like they just had to keep bashing their head up against this bottom lane that's stronger than them. And they keep giving up 2 kills after 2 kills after 2 kills over and over again. And you just have this Fred Draven everywhere. So I can't emphasize it enough. In the bottom lane, just stop the bleeding as soon as possible and wait for those moments. Wait for those cues. If you lose some CS, that's okay, because that's not going to lose you the game. What's going to lose you the game is if you feed the enemy bottom laner, and if you don't show up for team fights, and you're worried too much about this minion wave under your turret and not the dragon or not the Rift Herald, when you could be making a proactive play. So as the AD role, I would say you play defensive, you play for the minion wave when you can, but play for the team over everything else. If you have to make a choice between a macro play and a personal play, always choose the macro play. Always choose the play that is team focused, because you're not going to be the carry during the early game. You're going to be the carry in the late game, but if there's no late game to be had, you never get that moment to shine. So avoid the enemy bottom laner as much as possible by finding either ways that you can get out of the lane, that you can affect other parts of the game, or just avoid them in general. That means you're going to be making sure that dives don't land, and you're going to be backing off of turrets. You're not going to be trying to take these crazy plays because they have low probability of working. Even if it is a 50-50, I don't say you take 50-50s. 60-40s are a little bit more in that wheelhouse, but I would say once it gets above 65% chance of winning, of working, that's when you really want to take those plays. So AD, you're queuing off your support, you're queuing off your jungle, you're queuing off the rest of the game. And if the rest of the game is in a terrible state, you still have to be proactive. So don't wait for them to do something to you. Try to make a play that the enemy has to react to. Not an aggressive play where you're diving, but a play more so of a macro play around the game, where you can find the enemy kind of caught with their pants down, doing a dragon on your own, or doing something like the Rift Herald with your team. So don't let the enemy just make plays around you. Still be in the game and make proactive plays, because that's how you get back into the game. So it sounds a little bit like cliche, but AD, like I said, is a little more complex, where just don't keep going for the fights. Make sure that you're itemizing the same way as you normally would, not like the other roles, but also make proactive plays when you should be in a defensive position, because the enemy won't be expecting that. And that's how you get back in the game. Fight for the wave. Don't overly fight for the wave. Don't fight your opponent too much if they're ahead of you, because AD carries usually build the same items, right? If he's got a BF sword, you got a pickaxe, he obviously has more AD than you. But when you're playing top lane, somebody might have like a ruby crystal to a longsword. That's a little bit more to equate to each other, right? It's not like we both have longswords and you're just ahead of me. This guy straight up in the bottom lane has more AD than you because it's BF to pickaxe. But if it's ruby crystal to longsword, that calculation is a little bit different in terms of what is worth more and who has what, right? Or if he has 2 longswords to your ruby crystal, right? One of them still absorbs a lot of what this guy did, whereas the pickaxe BF sword don't really phase each other out. One is just absolutely stronger than the other, right? So in the bottom lane, defensive itemization, not really a thing, but I would say you have to kind of build the same way and avoid conflict until you get to that point where you've stopped the bleeding and you're at least just a little bit behind them. Don't let that get any larger. Don't let them kill you. That is the biggest problem, because then you'll lose CS under turret. You'll lose a lot of things dying bottom lane. So it's of the utmost importance that you survive in the bottom lane, and if you avoid your opponent and make plays elsewhere. Now let's move on to support. So support, the biggest thing about support in this is A lot of supports will judge the situation and go, screw my AD carry, this guy sucks, I'm leaving lane. Now that is a good thing sometimes, but make sure that you are doing it with the right AD carry. If it's an Ezreal, by all means you can do that. If it is something like a Varus, I would say it's a little bit trickier. If it's something like a Kai'Sa, maybe. But if it's something like a Kog'Maw, you're probably going to get him killed more. So don't just abandon the lane and say, screw this guy, he sucks balls, I'm going to go somewhere else. Make sure you help him clear the wave. Make sure you ward for him first, and then find that opportunity to roam in between waves. Don't just go, I'm going mid, I'm going top, because that's where my duo is, or maybe saying those are the better players. You can do that, you should do that, but do that at the right time. Don't do that immediately just because you died and you're just fed up with this guy. Set him up, give him the tools to just basically go to college by himself, give him the money, say, here you go, but don't just leave him broke there in the bottom lane because it's just going to get worse for him, right? You have to give him something before you leave. You have to give him a present, a going away present, right? Don't just abandon him because he is still a teammate. Regardless of how good or bad or shitty he might be, he's still a teammate and you still need to give him tools to succeed because you're on the same team and you aren't just trying to tank your elo, right? You want to help at least. Even if the situation's bad, maybe he's flaming you, it doesn't matter. He's still on your team and you should be a team player still. So the supports, I would say, when you're behind, you need to roam, you need to optimize for roaming, and even if you're something like a Nami, even if you're something like a Janna's a great roamer with her W. Nami, pretty good roamer. Soraka, a little more interesting because you can heal up laners that are a little bit less on the healthy side, but don't stay in lane too long. I think that's the other issue or other biggest problem that I see these supports making is when they roam, they stay in the lane too long. You're actually sharing experience with your mid lane Fizz, you're stopping his level ups, you're actually kind of taxing them in a sense. So if you're an enchanter support, don't stay in lane too long. Get your wards down after you've roamed, and then come back to lane for a bit, catch the wave for experience underneath the turret with your AD, and make sure he doesn't get dove, and then go back to roaming again. It's this whole push and pull of, I have to make sure that my AD is okay, now I can roam, now my AD is going to be under threat again and I have to go back. So you have to kind of juggle these different things all the time as a support if you want to play from behind effectively. Denying vision is another big part of the support's role, where you're placing defensive pinks, and you're playing around objectives to make sure that even if they are going to get the objectives and maybe your jungler isn't that strong, you still get to make them pay the maximum for it, whether they're even placing their wards or they have to clear yours out, or how much time it will take them to do the objective. Make them pay the maximum. That is the theme of today's. Make them pay the maximum. Don't let them get away with murder. Don't give it to them for free. Just at least make them pay the maximum. If they're going to do a dragon, at least get a Rift Herald, right? If they're going to do a dragon, at least make them miss some minion waves. At least make them lose some wards or have to place some of their own that they can't place elsewhere. Don't give it to them completely for free. Make them work for it just a little bit. Don't get caught while you're doing that, but make them work for it. And that's the balance where mastering playing from behind comes from. So for supports, you want to be roaming, you want to be affecting other lanes, you want to be making sure that you aren't giving up too much to roam, and you want to also judge the situation. Now, I think another big thing here is for supports is if you are a melee support, if you are one who's going to be taking one of the shield items, one of the pauldrons, that's going to be about sharing experience or sharing gold, make sure you use those in lane and then you roam. Don't go roaming and then just cry about how you don't have your support item at 15, 16 minutes. Use those, then go roam, then come back. Keep doing that. That'll allow you to at least stay on track with your support item and at least stay in the game in terms of getting to that point where you will have the threshold where you get wards, right? I see it a lot where people are roaming around. Sure, they're getting kills and stuff, but then they end up with no wards in the mid game, and we're sitting there with no vision of Dragon, no vision of Rift Herald, no vision of Baron, and it just really sucks overall. So for supports, 3 key things is make sure you aren't losing anything when you roam. Make sure you are roaming at the right times. The second thing is make sure you're itemized for roaming. And if your champion is one of the good roamers, absolutely great. If it's not one of the good roamers, still roam a little bit, but don't waste time there. And the third one is don't leave your AD carry out to dry. You still have to set him up, and you still have to make sure that you come back to that lane over and over again. So vision is the other part of that kind of aspect of it, where you want to make sure that you're placing vision and that you are denying vision, because it makes the enemy play more hesitant when vision is denied and when you dip into Fog of War. If they see you the whole time, then absolutely it's not even a good effective roam. But if you are able to deny with sweeper, and as well as, you know, something like your control wards that you'll be constantly buying, then you get to put pressure on the map and you get to free up pressure from other people. So now, and notice how I haven't, none of these have really been about fighting the enemy laner, right? None of these have really been about fighting the enemy laner. Top is like, okay, fight him when you can. Mid is like, make sure that he can't overly stomp you. Bottom lane is try to avoid and go elsewhere. And for jungle, this is going to be the weirdest one, because the jungle is such a strange role when you get behind and the enemy jungler gets ahead. So when the enemy jungler gets ahead, you end up in this really crappy position where if I go to my top lane and the enemy jungler's there, we lose because it's a 2-on-2 and he's ahead. So if the gold is on a jungler who's roaming around constantly and he's able to affect you in a 2-on-2, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, or even just meet you in the mid lane or the jungle, he ends up just stomping you. So the way to effectively play in the jungle from behind is to ward first and then do camps later. So if you ward first and you make sure you can spot where the enemy jungler is, you know which camps are up on your side and how to opposite trade sides of the map. So if you see him on the top side, you can go do bottom side. If you see him do dragon or you think he's doing dragon, Rift Herald's a great opportunity. Making sure that you are warding is the #1 thing as a jungler. If you're somebody who started with sweeper, you're actually going to want to swap back to the yellow trinket as a jungler to make sure that you are at least spotting him on the other side of the map and contributing to the vision game. Now, the whole team has to contribute to this, and it kind of sucks in that sense, but as the jungler, you want to be avoiding them, kind of slipping them, and thinking of the map as a whole as kind of like a boxing match, right? Where if he's going for a left, he's not going to have a guard up there. If you go for a right, you both just guard each other's attacks, and you just kind of want to trade blows back for blow for blow. You just want to go back to back with that. If he's bottom side, you don't want to be bottom side. If it's an even thing, and you have like a top laner that's ahead, right, and he has a bottom laner that's ahead, you should be going to your top side. Always play to your winning lane. That's why people play to their winning lane. You play to your winning lane because the most effective thing is if the other jungler shows up, then we actually have a fighting chance because my top laner's ahead. Maybe I'm behind, but if their top laner's behind and their jungler's ahead, then it's actually an even fight. And that's one of the only places you'll find that even fight is in that lane that is ahead, or potentially even a mismatch fight in your favor. So always play to your winning lane, especially when you're behind. When you're behind, don't play to your losing lane. You're just going to make it worse. It's actually going to just be catastrophic. If you think I'm going to play to my losing lane, that's already a bad situation for that laner. And if the enemy jungler shows up, then you're going to have a bad time too. But if the enemy jungler is doing something like ganking a top lane, and you should have vision there when he's, you know, your top laner's ahead, if you go to the bottom lane during that time where you actually have their laner going there, and you want to kind of like, I would say, I'll put it this way. You know how I just talked about when the enemy jungler is in one lane, you want to go to the opposite one? That is not true if it is a winning lane. If it is a winning lane for you, you want to meet him there. If it is your losing lane, then you absolutely want to go to your winning lane. So #1 rule of playing from behind in the jungle is try to slip the enemy jungler. Don't try to make contact with him ever. Just try to avoid him. If he goes into your jungle, there's equal amount of CS in his jungle that you should be able to get and potentially wards down for the future. If he goes to your winning lane, you absolutely want to meet him there. You don't want to lose your advantage in the game. If it even involves you dying for a 1-for-1, as long as your top laner or your bottom laner or whoever it is that is ahead in the game gets to maintain their lead, you absolutely want to show up and sacrifice yourself, because that is how you win the game, is maintaining an advantage. If the enemy jungler gets to shut down that advantage that you have almost no hold in the game left. And that's what's going to be one of the biggest parts of jungle, is you actually have to sacrifice yourself sometimes when you're behind. Sure, it's not going to look very good. You're going to end up in a scoreline that's 0-5, but maybe you'll have some assists. People don't include assists there. They're like, oh, I'm 0-5-10, but you're 0-5, boy. Like, that's what I end up hearing. Don't worry so much about that. If you are making the right plays for the game and you are keeping your advantage ahead, then that's great. But if you don't have an advantage in the game is falling apart, the way to play from behind there is to try and make it to the mid game and try to wait for enemy mistakes. It sounds bad, but the way that you want to do it is you want to try to make the enemy make unforced errors, but also forced errors. Unforced errors are them just playing poorly. Forced errors are where you drew something like a dragon, or you deny them vision of a baron, and you'd make picks where you sweep and you place down control wards, and then you go for a play. So when you reach the mid game is pretty much any of these roles, and you're behind, making picks, setting up minion waves are going to be pivotal to how to play from behind. You make slow pushes happen, go do objectives, and if you don't know slow pushing, we talked about it before in a previous lesson, but also doing an objective, but not actually starting it. People will start the Baron all the time. And if you walk here, sometimes your enemy will be a little bit on the back foot. You sweep out this whole area, and then you walk into the pit, and one of your guys might hit Baron. But what you need to do is you need to say, we're baiting. We're baiting, don't hit Baron. You actually need to type to them. And you need to stand here, and you need to wait for the person to come. And then you can maybe engage on them, or whatever you want to do. But the number one thing to do from the mid game is to try and pressure one point and then swap it to another. So if I'm pressuring mid and we're behind, I want to swap it to dragon, or I want to pressure mid and swap it somewhere else. You want to get pressure somewhere because they can't pressure everything at once. If they're pressuring everything at once, that's bad. Because if they're doing like a 1-3-1, you need to send multiple people to one of those ones and shut it down. You need to get some pressure back, because even if they're going to win that bottom lane push, maybe they'll win that mid lane push. Don't let them win the top lane push as well. You will be losing those other lanes slowly, but you have to make some type of play somewhere else, and you can't let them just pressure everything down at once. You have to create a numbers advantage somewhere. Even if you have only 2 people hold the mid, as long as you have 2 people go after that one person on the top side, you can make a play there, relieve pressure, and then go back to where you were, and now you have a 5-on-4 in your advantage, and you can kind of spread whatever pressure you got from top side into the other lanes. That's how you relieve that pressure, is by putting a brief amount of pressure somewhere else, and then having it spread back around your team. So, when you're playing in the jungle, and you're playing from behind in the mid game, and for every other role as well, vision and pressure is paramount. If they have 1 person top, 3 people mid, 1 person bottom, we'll just play it that way, and you are matching them, don't just match them. If the support is mid, maybe you go roam top lane. Maybe you make a play here and you kill this guy. That will allow you to push this lane and then transition that to something else. Maybe it transitions into a turret. Maybe it transitions into Baron pressure. You don't have to do Baron necessarily, but even time to CS, time that you aren't under complete pressure by the enemy, is at least a little bit of a respite from all of the kind of behind behaviors that you guys have been adopting during the game, and it allows you to get a little bit back into it. So every little bit counts when you're playing from behind, and when you're playing from behind, making sure that you're playing more as a team than ever is the biggest part of the game, because if you're trying to solo carry from behind, it's so much harder to do. If you have at least one person on your team that is a little bit ahead, or even, that's who you want to be playing around. That's where you want to have an advantage manifest. But if you have nobody like that on your team, you really do have to go for vision denial and try to create something out of nothing. It's almost like, it's like a bad magic trick, right? It's where you're going to be pulling a rabbit out of your hat out of thin air. That's what you have to do to get back into it, right? It sounds ridiculous, but you have to kind of make magic happen. And the way that happens is you have to set the play up. You have to use vision, you have to use your teammates, and using only yourself is sometimes, I would say, the hardest way to get back into the game. Because you see streamers, you see people who are even high elo or challenger or LCS do this all the time, where they try to make a play from behind, and it's not a team play. Team plays are the most effective plays that you can make in League of Legends, and so playing around your team, even if they aren't going to be somebody who's, listening or basically paying attention, what you want to do is you at least want to make the play happen near them. At least warn them what you're going to do. Talk to people in the game. Chat is really underutilized. When you're backed and you're walking back to lane, at least talk about what you want to do. Say, I want to roam, I'm going to be doing this, I want to go mid lane, hey, play safe bottom lane. Just inform your team of what you're going to be doing. Because if you aren't informing them what you're going to be doing, there's no way they can absolutely know. And that's going to catch them off guard. And the people you want to be catching off guard are the enemy, not your team, right? Not your own team. If you catch your own team off guard, they're already playing from behind. They already have enough on their hands. Instead, just make the enemy play a little bit more on guard, even if they're ahead. So now, since we covered all of the roles, we're going to move on to the Q&A portion. So there's going to be about 5 minutes here where you guys get to ask questions about what we just talked about here. If you don't have a winning lane, then what do you do? So if you don't have a winning lane, what you should end up doing is what you should do is you should end up warding objectives, warding places around lanes that people will face check. So, for example, if I have a losing mid lane and this guy's been roaming towards the top side, I want to be able to ward here, place a control ward here, and if I see the enemy on this side and I've made a play, maybe he walks this way, right? I can make a play somewhere else, right? If the mid laner roams, if the mid laner is mid and he's a roaming champion, placing a ward here, seeing which side he goes to and going to the opposite. You want to slip their plays and make your own. So that's the number one thing is if you don't have a winning lane, slip their plays, make your own. Number one thing. Don't follow their plays. Slip their plays and make your own. Absolutely is what you should be doing. Now, if you want to actually set a trap, that is the other thing you can be doing. Things like placing a control ward here and waiting for somebody who's going to be roaming to the top side very frequently, or making sure that you're like doing something like Krugs in the meantime, and then you see them roam and you're like, okay, well now I got to get to this bush. You start pinging, assist me, and then you can maybe make a play here on them, right? So you have to be slipping their plays and making your own. Don't just try to answer their plays. Slip their plays and make your own. You have to be proactive and you have to make your own plays. Don't just answer the enemy's plays, make your own. Should you follow roams always? No, absolutely not. So the number one thing that I hate about following roams is this. Your bot lane will complain. Your bot lane will be like, why didn't you follow? It's like, maybe it's absolutely trash to follow this person. Because here's what happens. What if I'm this Kane, right? And I see the Talon. Well, I guess I'll be like, let's just say I'm like Katarina or something. Let's just say I'm Syndra, right? And I see the enemy laner roam to here, right? But I have no vision. And he places a ward here. I don't know, as the mid laner, let's say this is me, and he's just roamed off. I don't know if he's actually ganking bottom lane or if he's sitting in this bush waiting for me. Because I'll tell you straight up, if I'm this Syndra in this bush, or if I'm this Syndra roaming, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait here until I see if the bottom lane is gankable and I'll roam, or if my mid laner starts roaming. If I see him like walk away from the wave, because of course they're going to see you follow. They know that you're coming, right? Of course they know. If he pushes the minion wave onto you and he sees that you're roaming, he's just going to wait in this bush for you. And then he's just going to kill you. Or I've seen people walk all the way to here on their side of the map and wait for the roam. So if you're following a roam, you might be face checking a laner that's ahead of you. So I would say the safer play is just to go to the opposite side, to ping your bottom lane back, to go to the opposite side, to make a play on the opposite side of the map or opposite objective. Don't just follow the roam every single time. The only times I say it's safe to follow the roam is if you can clearly see the person roaming. If this is not control warded and you have a ward in here and you see them walk through, that's when you can follow, right? That's when you can show up late to the fight. Don't just follow them, because in higher elos, you will see them 100% of the time. Wait and see what you're doing. They aren't just watching the bottom fight. They'll be watching what you're doing. And if he gets to like here and he goes, oh wait, the bottom lane isn't gankable, he'll go to this bush and wait for you. Or he'll even go over here, and he'll wait for you here. And you'll be face-checking a Zed, you'll be face-checking, a Talon. This is what Talons do all the time. This is what Zeds do all the time. Syndras, Kianas, like, people who are going to roam, don't always follow the roam, but at least if he's roaming, ping that he's gone, right? Ping that he's gone. Ping that he's just somewhere else, and that he's going to go bottom lane. Ping, and do it early, right? That's the big thing. Because if you're not going to follow, what you need to do is you need to ping that he's missing. So here's actually what you need to do, okay? Here's kind of like human behavior, right? What you need to do is you need to ping that he's missing. Ping your bottom lane. And then ping your top lane. So you need to ping that he's missing. Missing in mid. And then you need to ping that it's danger bottom lane. And then you need to ping that you're on your way top. Right? Because, and here's the thing too that I hate. Is you'll ping this mid lane, and if you ping right here, they don't see it. If you ping here, they'll see it. You need to, whoever's in danger, ping on their screen. Ping their screen. Don't ping right here, because I do this all the time, where like I know where the enemy jungle is, and I do this. I go, I go, he's right here, right? I see him going like this. But my enemy top laner's looking here. So if I ping on him, he'll see this red thing on his screen, and he'll actually pay attention. So if you are actually trying to like make your pings as effective as possible, ping like this on their lane, and then ping on your way to this person. So actually ping on their screen, right? So ping on their screen. Don't ping in the jungle. Don't ping the path. So ping kind of here, and then you want to ping maybe where they're coming from, and then the lane that's in danger. Is it better to roam or take plates? Most of the time, it's better to make your own play on a different side of the map, or if you can shove and then do that, do that. So plates, usually not worth it early. Unless you are able to get the plates like really convincingly, it's usually not worth it. So you have to like, and here's the thing too, I guess I will say is, if I get plates mid, if I get a plate mid or 2 plates mid, it was still more effective to go top lane, team up with my top laner, get 2 plates with him, and push the enemy top laner off of minions, CS, and maybe experience your gold. So it's always more effective to do something to the enemy than it is to just do something by yourself, right? So I could have gotten 2 plates mid, but I also probably could have gotten 2 plates top, right? Or if I called my jungler over, maybe we would get a kill in 2 plates top, right? So making the solo play is really, I would say, selfish, and getting the plates in the mid lane, not really that worth it. I would say it's only worth it if you're like a hyper carry, like Masters Challenger player who's going to make the most of that gold when you get it anyway. So it's like really true effective gold that you will always get if you make that play, but there's always more gold to be had and more gold to deny. And plus the other guy might not be getting a turret plate himself. And if they do end up going bottom lane and like fast pushing or pushing into the turret after they get a gank, then it's much more effective that you were on the top side making a play with your jungler or your top laner anyway, right? Than opposed to just pushing mid. Also, the other thing about this is if the enemy mid laner goes down bottom and they start making a play here, if you just pushed up mid, after they make that play, it doesn't take them very long to roam back mid and push you out of mid. But if you roam top side, them getting from bottom to top requires them to either teleport back or roam all the way up. And typically what will happen is they'll actually just go back to mid and try to push mid to get you to come back to mid. So going to the opposite side of the map creates as much room as possible between you and the other enemies. So you want to actually create that distance, instead of making it so that they can come back and push you out really easily. So you want to be going as far away as possible when you know where they is. Where you know where they are. Where you know where the enemy is, I guess is what I was trying to say. Anyway, so now it's live game time. Let's start taking those IGNs. This is on EU West. Okay. Oops. Let's go back to blind pick to draft mode. Just so you guys can get rid of some champions that you might feel are a little pesky, so. Ooh. Okay. Captain. Norse God. What? Joe Dragon, my nuts. I love bronze players' names. I swear to God. Every single time, guys. It's the bronze players who have the best names. If you guys remember Captain Flower's bronze stream, and there was some guy named like Daddy, you know, you guys will remember if you saw it. But yeah, there's been some great names, and they're usually bronze players. Okay, there we go. I'm glad I typed your name in. I am Boosted Kappa. I am Boosted Kappa. There we go. Cobank. There's like little creature. Oh, I like that spelling. Lil creature. Headshot BG. Let me see. Headshot BG. Headshot BGR. Headshot BGR. Okay. Oh, you're probably going to be higher low than that. Headshot BGR. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Glad that worked. Zamp. Cool. Is that Rexi? WRXI. My name Ed03. My name's Ed03. Okay. Ed03. All right. Let's. I don't think I give somebody leader. Wait, somebody leave? Headshot BG left. Hold up. Headshot BGR left. Okay. Let's see if he comes back. Let's see. Cosine. Okay. Nope. Looks like he's not there. Okay. And there. Move. What's going on, Headshot? All right. Yeah, we're gonna get somebody else in then. Cool. Got stake at 98. Perfect. Okay, that seems good to me. Okay, start when you guys have figured out. Okay, so we won't be artificially creating a a lead or anything like that. We aren't going to be like rigging it, being like, okay, you guys get behind, you guys don't get behind, because otherwise we would just play a normal and just say int, you know, the first kill or whatever, and then play from there. But Instead, what's going to be happening in this game is, the natural state of a game is some people will be ahead, some people will be behind. So we'll be watching the people who are behind, particularly, kind of emphasizing what they are doing to try to stop the bleeding. And if they aren't stopping the bleeding, we'll talk about what they should be doing instead, right? And then the people who are ahead, we can talk about, what we're doing in terms of people, snowballing harder. Not one gold, Omega Law. Oh, this is because it is silver and it is bronze. So they're figuring it out. Are you doing more than one game? No, there'll only be one game today. They were trying to keep these things to about an hour and a half to 2 hours ideally, and that's what the whole timer thing is for at the top. Feels bad, man. Well, that means you can always go back. It's all right, man. Teleport Nimbus Cloak, a viable strat on junglers for ganking? No. Too infrequent. Teleport too high of a cooldown. Little creature. No, so the issue with little creature is that you are level 29 and you have no rating. So I don't know if you're like a mega smurf or something, Okay, it looks like teams are about to be ready. What do you think of lane switching? It's pretty effective sometimes, but don't game yourself. So higher elo people can't join. On this one, no. We tailor it so that throughout the week, people will be, we'll be tailoring the experience to people who are high elo and low elo, and we'll be going back and forth just so everybody kind of gets a chance. But I don't want there to be games where people are we're basically doing our own matchmaking here, right? We're trying to make it so that the games are as even as possible for two reasons. One, we don't want some bronze guy getting absolutely curb stomped by a challenger, masters, diamond, even platinum player, right? Because it just becomes really one-sided, and the viewing experience for you guys is you just get 15 minutes of a game and that's FF'd, right? We had one of those at one point where somebody it looked like they were obviously smurfing, and there were 9 other people in the game who were their true elo, and there was just a guy just popping off, and it was like, okay, you know what, this game's over. So there wasn't really much to learn from that game for people. So I would say that's the main concern there. So we're doing our own matchmaking with you guys just so that it doesn't end up being ridiculous. Why'd they bring in this hard stuck plat again? You talking about me? So one, you're looking at my named account, and I've been pretty much trolling on that one. So if you look at like the last few games, I've been try-harding recently because you guys keep looking at that one. I had a lot of stuff to do during the weekend, but that one will be diamond, I would say, by next week. So I wouldn't worry about it. So if you're talking about like that, don't worry. I won't be hard stuck plat on that one in week. So NA server, that'll be later. That's not going to be on this one. Maybe later today. We'll see. If your laner roams bottom, do you go all the way top, or is getting rift worth? So you'll see. All the way top. So if your laner roams bottom, do you go all the way top? It depends on, are you talking about top laner? Are you talking about top laner? Because if your top laner roams bottom, is it go, or if you're mid lane, if your mid laner roams bottom, do you go all the way top, or is getting rift worth? Both are worth, depending on what you should do. If the enemy top laner is playing really safe, then you guys should join up and go get Rift Herald. If the enemy top laner is not playing safe and you can gank him, then do that. But it's always going to be a flexible situation, right? It's always going to be a flexible situation. That's kind of the biggest thing of League of Legends is I can't give you a one-size-fits-all solution. I can give you guidelines, and then there will always be exceptions. There is never a hard and fast rule. Like I said, don't stay under turret when you're getting dove, but sometimes that's not a hard and fast rule. Sometimes you should be staying under your turret, and you should be going, okay, these guys can't beat me. Understand that comes with understanding your champion, and like somebody was memeing in chat, limit testing. Limit testing is another fancy word for feeding and trying really hard to do what you can and then realizing you can't. Otherwise, it's not called limit testing. It's called popping off, right? So, what is the answer to Kassadin as a mid laner? Playing an AD mid laner, and if you can't play an AD mid laner into him because he has really low armor, then you should be trying to call your jungler over if you have good gank assist. If you don't have good gank assist, then at least making him work for the CS and then roaming. Because Kassadin roams early are terrible. So just think of what Kassadin's bad at. He's bad at CSing early. He's good at CSing under turret, but he's bad at CSing early. He's bad at shoving waves, so if you shove the wave on him and you have better... basically, I'll ask, what does your champion do better than Kassadin does? Do you roam better? You should roam. Do you wave clear better? You should wave clear, get better backs than him, potentially wave clear and roam. Are you AD? Then absolutely great. If you can actually dive and set up ganks and you have good gank assist, better than Kassadin, then you should call your jungler over and freeze the wave on Kassadin. Is my struggle as a Cassio main? Yeah, Kassadin... So here's the thing, is as a Cassiopeia main, what you should be doing with Kassadin is you should learn his Q cooldown. If you don't know Kassadin's Q cooldown by heart, you should learn it. Because there's a window where you get to punish Kassadin. Don't, like, smack your spells into his shield. He's actually just destroying your mana pool. What you should be doing is you should be, if he Qs you, take the Q, but then don't back off for too long, because he's going to back off if you walk up after his Q is used and you start, like, pumping spells into him, right? Because he's going to be taking that damage. Learn his Q cooldown, especially early. It'll seem really low, but you have to learn his Q cooldown, because that's your window. You get a small window against Kassadin where you use spells, and then what he'll do is he'll Q you. Then what you do is you auto attack him. Keep your max range, auto attack him while he has the spell shield on, and then Q him and then E him down afterwards when the shield is worn off. And just do that. Just keep doing that. How do I help my bottom lane when they are feeding if you are top lane? Tell them not to feed. Tell them to back off. Tell them to place a ward either in the middle of the lane or place a ward in one of the bushes, so if they're getting pushed in. But there's not much you can do there except play your lane. Try to play to your side of the map. And if there's an opportunity to play to the bottom side that they have set up, then they have given you an opportunity to do that, right? They have actually opened that window. So tell them what to do. Tell them to play safe, place a ward, and you can look for a TP. Or if that's overplaying, because sometimes if you try too hard to save another lane, you sacrifice your own lane and you screw up yourself, right? So you might have to focus on your own game and getting your advantage first, just solidified, because if you're playing something like a Darius or whatever, you want to just focus on your lane, get your advantage, and then snowball it, show up to dragons, show up to the bottom lane, start smashing people. Because otherwise you just throw it all away, right? How to learn champions faster. I would say mostly guides, watching live streams, guides, understanding what makes the champion work, looking up combos, practice tool, and then actual live play, I would say. Katarina versus CC, who focus you in fight? Wait for the CC to be used on other people. Because people will be waiting for you. Lulu will like hold on to her W and like wait for you to jump in. So what you should do is you should either go after the easy targets, or you should just threaten to go in and make them hold their CC while the rest of your team pummels them. Because if Gragas is holding his body slam the entire fight waiting for you, they're gonna lose that fight if he's not body slamming like your AD or something else. So as a Katarina, you should either be baiting the CC and then Zhonyazing or flashing, and then using all of your abilities, or you should be waiting for the abilities to go off, keep track of them. But like before a fight here, right? You're gonna go, okay, what CC needs to be used? Maokai W, Maokai Q, maybe the Pantheon W as well. So what you can do is you can go in as Katarina. You can then just use all your abilities really quickly. You can like Q, E, W, and then you can you wait for the maybe you E twice. Yeah, you Q, E to it, and then you can E a second time maybe. W there, and then you press your Zhonyas so that the Maokai who maybe used his W now has his W canceled, whatever, and then you'll E again somewhere else, and you'll try to avoid it. But if they have point and clicks like Pantheon and like Maokai, you want to wait for them to be used before you go in. And then you have to use that window very quickly. So you have to kind of play around with that range. It's very difficult, and that's why assassins are hard to play. But you need to be keeping track of all the CC in the fight and think, okay, what can I avoid? What should I dodge? And what should I wait for to be used on my opponents? Should TPing bot be worth more or getting plates? It really depends. If your bottom lane, it can't play safe. If the enemy top laner pings, if the enemy top laner TPs and his TP looks like he's going to flank and kill your bottom lane, TP. If his TP looks like it's shit and he's TPing to like the tri-brush and your bottom lane's already disengaged, go for plates. So if the play is going to happen, TP to it. Right? If the play is going to happen, TP to it. If the play looks like the enemy's messed up and you can disengage it, and if you ping them back, they go back, then get plates. Right? That's the difference. So if the enemy TP is good, you gotta follow. If the enemy TP is bad, let him TP and then go get your plates. If I could bathe in Jello, what flavor? Ooh. I really like orange Jello and like grape Jello. Random tangent. But like, have you guys ever noticed that grape flavored things don't really taste grape? Like grape flavored Jolly Ranchers don't taste like grape, they taste like purple. I don't mean to like meme a Lulu line, but they do taste like purple, you know? Yeah. I actually really like grape flavored Jolly Ranchers. No, you heathen, I love grape. Hey, I love the taste of purple. I love the taste of the purple stuff. Like, you know, when it's grape flavored like medicine or it's grape flavored Jolly Ranchers. I love that stuff. I love that purple flavor for some reason. But grape juice though? Yeah, when it's like the squeezed grape juice, yeah. But then there's that grape juice that actually just tastes like purple. It's like purple juice, right? Grape soda. It's like grape soda, orange soda. That stuff don't taste like orange. That stuff tastes like the color. Blue tastes like blue, am I right? Yeah, man. But like the grape flavored stuff, the stuff that's grape flavored doesn't taste like actual grape. If it actually tastes like grape, it would be gross. I mean, I like grapes themselves. Anyway, we got a minute before this happens. As much as the Jello question was my favorite question of the day, probably favorite question I've ever got. If I could bathe in Jello, what flavor would it be? I mean, I guess afterwards it would be like Zirene flavored, but that would be like disgusting. So it would only be purple flavored for a little bit. But thank you for the question. Who said that? I don't remember who that was, but that was great. Because purple things are flavored that way? I mean, I guess, but like, what flavor is it? It's artificial grape, right? Doesn't make sense, but okay. I mean, you go taste something go get a grape flavored Jolly Rancher and tell me that tastes like an actual grape. It does not. It just tastes like sugary purple. Is Volibear viable support? There are some that work. Some matchups. Zirene, why are you in charge here? What are your qualifications? Who knows, man? Who knows? Why am I in charge here? Bad judgment on somebody else's part, all right? That's why. I'm getting bored of the champs in playing in jungle, and I want to start something with a higher skill cap. I currently play Master Yi and Set. If you really want something with a higher skill cap, go play something like Lee Sin, which everybody really, really thinks is like one of the highest skill cap junglers that you can play in the game. There's a whole bunch of other things, too, in jungle that require a lot of skill. Kiana, when she's good, not really right now. Nidalee Graves. It's like Nidalee Graves, Lee Sin are always going to be ones that maybe they don't fit your playstyle because you like playing Set and Master Yi. But if you like dealing damage, then I think that would be like a good thing to pick up. Elise is one that I don't think her skill cap is high. I think her window of being powerful is really small. So as Elise, you have to be really on top of your game early, and you have to make the gank stick because you aren't as useful later. How to play versus Zyra as Thresh? Ooh, you have to be very, very tricky. You have to attack plants a lot too when she pops them up, but you have to be very tricky. I would say most of the time you don't go for Zyra, you go for her support, her AD, and then you try to flay the Zyra, because if she's going to be blocking things with plants, it's really tough. It's really tough. But autoing plants is something that early on is I think, undervalued. Because once you get rid of the plants, you get rid of a lot of the damage that comes through. Because Zyra's damage is very, very high. Twisted Fate versus Hylas, what do? It depends on which one you are in that matchup. Because as Sylas, you'll just be stealing the ulti, right? Whenever you can. And you'll be wave clearing a little bit better than Twisted Fate early. Vlad top advice. For Vladimir top and Vladimir mid, my advice is that you guys play a different champion because you're absolute degenerates playing Vladimir, who's one of the strongest champions in the entire goddamn game. Because Vladimir is so ridiculously powerful. If you need tips to play Vladimir, I would say play a different champion. Because if you aren't succeeding with Vladimir, then there's obviously something wrong. He's absolutely broken. He's absolutely broken. You need to go learn how to do the RQ, E, like with the W combo, and then Q afterwards. If you probably you're probably not queuing on the second Q, because you know how he gets the little thing that makes it so that he gets the rush, where if he queues, he becomes super fast. You should queue something, and then wait to enter the fight, and hold that bar, and then queue again, and then when it comes up, you Q with the extra speed, then you E W with the extra speed, because people can't outrun you then. So you might want to be thinking more about your I think it's even called, like, I don't even know what it's called. It's like Sanguine Rush or something like that. I don't even remember. It's been so long since I actually looked at that ability because he's just a ridiculous champion. But regardless, I would say the tips for him is don't lose early. Just Crimson Rush. There you go. That's what it's called. I was like, Sanguine. That's not right. Anyway. RQE Proto Belt. Yeah, there's a way to buffer things too. But if you want to get better at Vladimir, just don't die early. Like, literally do everything in your power to not die, and then you'll win the game. Because Vladimir is so strong. And if you aren't winning the game, you might need to itemize a little differently, or you might be itemizing incorrectly. I don't mean to be, like, rude about Vladimir's, but Vladimir in general is just an incredibly strong champion that is my #1 ban every single game. Like, people are like, oh, Echo is strong, Cassiopeia is strong. I'm like, Vladimir, be quiet. I'm banning Vladimir. It's like, I will always ban Vladimir until that champion is no longer a champion. And I used to main him before he got reworked, and he was still broken back then. This champion, it just does so much damage. Is so hard to gank as well because of his ability to peel, his ability to just W. And you can see right here, actually, Joe Dragon My Nuts is the Pantheon, and he's going to be up against this Kassadin. So this is actually going to be a great way to deal with Kassadin because this Pantheon pokes. Pantheon is a physical damage champion, and Pantheon also has better roams than Kassadin early. Pantheon's going to go for a nice little ward over the wall. Good. Knows that he started on the top side. Yep. Went for the 3 smack. He just needs to get level 2, and then he can actually poke him a little harder. I would say Pantheon needs to contest the wave a little bit more. I'm going to watch this matchup because there was a Kassadin question earlier. I would say the fact that he got level 2 second is a little bit meh. So he's going to Q, or he's going to W, and then he's going to Q. We'll see. Sometimes people really like to W first because it gives them the extra stacks. So what is he doing? Joe? Joe? There's the 3, there's the Q. Yeah. So a lot of them like it for, like, the press the attack. But yeah, this is a big cooldown. This is 11 seconds. So he should be able to go after him here. Yeah, there you go. Nope. Okay, now charge Q. Kill him. There, easy. Easy. That's how you deal with Kassadin. Yeah. The Kassadin had no idea what that was. Oh, that was a good flash, but good range. Nice kill. The good pick up there. The Teemo's going to try to flash. Not really quite good there. Doesn't even get a flash back, so. The Maokai pinged that he didn't have W either, so he waited for level 3. Is this iron or something? This is silver average. I hear the music in the background. I think I usually turn the music off here, but I kind of like it. But I guess I'm going to turn it off because I always do that. Okay, so repeat gank here. And now okay, so now let's take stock of who's behind. Caston's behind, Teemo's behind, Jhin is behind. The entire blue team is actually behind right now. So the only person who is actually in a okay spot would be the Nocturne. But if you look at this team, the Kassadin is fine, even though he's behind. He's fine. He's gonna have to build. In this game, he's gonna have to build Ninja Tabi. So getting a Ninja Tabi really early on Kassadin and something like a Catalyst builds right into what he wants to do. So he just has to kind of survive here. And he's got the Corrupting Potion to do so. He's got Teleport. So the Kassadin can actually survive this matchup if the Pantheon is not aggressive. If the Pantheon is not aggressive here and just really trying to destroy him, then the Kassadin will actually be okay. So Kassadin playing from behind is probably one of the easiest champions to play from behind because you can see that he's going to scale, right? He's fine with playing from behind. Yep, he's getting ganked a lot. Teemo's getting ganked a lot. And he's up against a Maokai as well. He's already blown his teleport. Maokai hasn't even flashed on him. He just doesn't have the vision to cover this. Okay. 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 Oof. The minions are going to kill Kassadin, right? No? Ooh, real close. But now he has to back. Okay. Nocturne's doing a good job here of actually... So what Nocturne's doing is Nocturne's playing off the fact that the Pantheon... That the Pantheon was mid, chunked a lot, and the Lee Sin was topside. So Nocturne's doing exactly what we were talking about. So because the Lee Sin kept ganking topside, he now gets to go take the dragon. He's going to try to go over. Not going to quite hit him with the Q. He's going to get slowed. He's going to get rooted. They're trying to collapse on the Lee Sin, but it's not really a good idea. You just kind of let him go. Yeah, he's just chilling. He was waiting to see who showed up. What elo is it? It's around like silver. So the Teemo is itemizing in a way where he's being aggressive still. The Maokai is basically going to shut down all his damage, and all Teemo can do now is ward and try to scale. The Kassadin... Ooh. Okay, that was a little bit of a freeze there. The Kassadin is getting the Catalyst first. Probably going to suffer for it a bit. Or to use the TP. What lane has the most impact to carry the game? Mid lane. It's central to everything. Mid lane will always have the most impact because it's in the middle. If you guys have ever played chess, there's a thing called the Octo Knight, and it's where the knight that can move one space up and two spaces to the right or left, or even two spaces up and one to the left or right. When you put it in the middle of the board, it has 8 possible moves, where when you start the game, it only has 2 possible moves. It can only move out to the up and left or up and right at the beginning of the game. But if you get it to the center of the board, it can move and threaten 8 spaces at once. So being in the center of a board, being in the center of a map, gives you more access to everything. So you can always affect things more when you play from the middle, right? And you get to choose which side you're playing on. And then after you choose which side you're playing on, the enemy has to answer and go for the other side, right? If they are actually going to. So the mid lane, I think, will always have the most impact because you play in the middle, right? It is equidistant to every other lane, whereas top lane affecting bottom lane, too far. affecting mid lane. Same distance if it would be affected the other way around. And same thing with bottom lane to top and vice versa. This Lee Sin has level 6, has ulti, gonna kill right there. And here comes the Ash arrow to try and affect somebody. Not gonna quite work. Here comes Kassadin. It's warded, which is a good ward. Pantheon actually went to the other side. And there's the exhaust. Okay. I don't know what happened with Pantheon there, but... So the Kassadin did a good job of roaming and reinforcing and playing around his jungler who was getting invaded because this Lee Sin is absolutely fed off the top side. So the playing from behind there as a team was good. Maokai doesn't have much mana, so I would actually attack him a lot as Teemo here. Even though he's got, like, you know, he's got Spectre's Cowl, I would still attack him a lot. Yeah, it's pretty much all you can do right now as Teemo is attack him a lot, maybe go for another wave push, and then after that you can try and get like maybe a Scuttle Crab or something and try to get into the game via CS, but the Teemo's going to have to do work here in terms of warding, in terms of making sure he doesn't die again because it's been a problem for him so far. Oh, okay. No. Nope. Sometimes he just dies Teemo again. So, I think Teemo should watch... we had a lesson previously on how to ward. And, like, this ward from Nocturne is a better ward than your ward here. And your ward here is actually quite wasted. Because they're not going to show you when people are actually roaming up and how long it'll take, right? Because, like, you're already getting ganked here, and that's when you saw him. So placing something either here or here is going to be better for you in this game. So you're placing things way too defensively, and you need to be able to place when you see, like, the Lee Sin on the bottom side of the map, place your ward way more aggressive. The Lee Sin's doing a good job, though. I actually think the Lee Sin's doing a great job here. Liu Kang is doing a really good job of actually punishing. He's taking all of the farm in the jungle. He's playing like a little bit of a higher elo jungler, where once you get something, you should get more. You should win more, right? It's like how to snowball. Once you get something on the top side, you should be able to keep going. You should be able to continue to get more and more, because Nocturne's left with nothing here, right? And Nocturne's just like spotted on wards and stuff now too. But I think the way that blue team wins this game is through Kassadin. I think that's like one of the only ways they win right now, is if Kassadin doesn't lose more. Oh. Ooh. Yeah. The Lee Sin is basically just stomping him. But yeah, the Kassadin I think is like one of the only ways they win this game now, is if he doesn't get behind and if he can just scale. Because this is one of the things where what you do here is Teemo needs to just place wards, get AP in this situation, because nobody in this game is going to be able to nobody in this game is going to get pushed out by Teemo. Right? Nobody in this game is going to get pushed out by Teemo, like, at all. So what you need to do is you need to build AP. You need to place a bunch of shrooms down for vision and for control of the top side to help your jungler out. And, well, Maokai went forward, but I don't think he's going to actually die here. It's a level 6 Nocturne. Nocturne's out of the game. It's only really Kassadin that can carry this, and he has to wait for level 11, level 16. And so everybody else has to just kind of CS, not die to Lee Sin, and play as safe as possible. So the ward control so far, as you guys can see, is like really, really scarce for blue team, but like really, really good for red team. Red team has defensive and offensive vision. They have control of the dragon, they have control of the Rift Herald, control of their own jungle to see if Nocturne goes for anything sneaky on the other side. So the blue team, though, doesn't really have much. They're all defensive and incredibly deep defense on their own side, which is not going to help them too much. That ward that's at the red buff, that their red buff, the control board at their red buff should actually be replaced, because this ward is no good. This ward is, if you replace it here, is better, or here is better. But doing it here, you don't see if he's invaded until way past when you would have saw him here. So sure, the ward stays alive for longer, but it's not really going to do much. Now it's Lee Sin doing the Rift Herald and trying to shut him down, and that's going to be a solo kill. Yeah, the Teemo when he's behind, you can't really do much as Teemo behind against a tank. You got to be able to, not give up more early. Like if we look at it, the Teemo has died a lot here, and the main thing for Teemo is he got ganked early. He has a ward available. If he was going to pressure, he needed to place this ward earlier. He died, blew his flash, and then when he came back to lane, he went to go ward immediately, but the Lee Sin was already on that side. So this is actually a situation where I would not TP here. I wouldn't TP here. I'd walk back to lane. And you know why? Because what does he get from TPing here? He's very vulnerable, and there's 3 CS for him to take. Just say screw it. Just say screw it. Walk back to lane. That's a bad time to TP. Don't TP just because you have teleport. Right? So he gets pushed back. Now he has to walk back. The wave is pushing against him, and he would have been back around this time anyway, right? Then he would have been able to ward. There's more chance the Lee Sin isn't there. He has a ward to place down, and this ward is way too defensive. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So he's just getting the ever-living crap, like, camped out of him right now. Also, as Teemo, you should be playing more to this side anyway because of Brush. So it seems like unfamiliar with the champion. He's losing a lot off of this. Losing a lot, losing a lot. And let's see him. Let's see what he does. We're going over basically how to play from behind for the Teemo. He's doing a push. Once he pushes, what does he do? He should actually recall. He should have recalled. Now he's stuck in lane. He has a ward to place. He doesn't place a ward yet. Nocturne places a ward for him. He should be holding onto his ward. Good control ward. That's all Nocturne trying to help him out. Nocturne replaces the control ward when the invade happens. And because they see Lee Sin on the bot side, Teemo should actually push this wave and not wait. Whoa, zero reason to ward there is Teemo. So he saw Lee Sin on the bot side. He has a ward here. What you should do as Teemo is you should have shoved that last wave, which he did. Instead of warding here, go ward here. Go all the way and ward in there. And that's what you should be doing. Because when you have the opportunity, when you're behind and you have the opportunity to do something and you know you can't be ganked doing it, do it. 100%. You can't miss that opportunity. If you miss that opportunity, you missed a window where you could get back in the game. Because then he would have spotted Lee Sin doing this. He would have gotten ganked anyway because he's getting pushed in. Yeah, he's just... If you're Teemo and you have shrooms, you place them where you don't have vision. If you're placing them in the lane, you're doing it a little bit too wrong, I would say. It's not worth as much to place it in the lane. Sometimes you shove the wave when you don't want to. You should be placing shrooms here, and then you should be warding here. Or you should do vice versa. If you're warding here, you're placing shrooms here. Teemo shouldn't be able to be ganked that easily. Yeah, and now Lee Sin is basically taking over the game because the Teemo hasn't been playing right. He's been really easy to gank. And like right here, now he's doing it a bit, but these are still really like defensive. You should be placing these a little bit further down when you get the chance. Your shrooms shouldn't be that close to you. They should be like over here. They last a long time. They last 5 minutes. You should be placing them in this area. Because if you're trying to, what do these shrooms accomplish? If Maokai is in this area, do you kite to there? Well, why don't you just place them here then? Because you don't want to run to the river. You want to run to your lane, right? You want to run to your turret. If you're getting attacked, you want to run here. So place them here. And if you're going to place them in the river, you place them here so that they can see people coming. May not be a Teemo player, but that's fine. But he isn't playing in a way that's going to facilitate his team being able to play around him. Very killable right now. How much gold does he have? 1K. Okay. He should have found a chance to back. Yeah, I was like, he should have found a chance to back, even if he doesn't have TP. He missed his windows. They're going to get Rift Herald. Okay. And now we're kind of back to where we were. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Yeah, the Kassadin is playing like that and flashing and stuff because he's like the only person who can play the game right now for his team. Jhin maybe a little bit now, but basically both of them have to carry this game because it's not going to be Teemo that carries this game, and Nocturne is like not going to be able to catch up to this Lee Sin for a long time. So it's basically all Jhin. Oh, headbutt to the minion. Oh. Yeah, should have done that earlier. Move up, 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 up. Okay. Regardless, their shallow wards are getting them killed still. A lot of these guys should watch the previous ward class that we did last week, because I think it would be very, very helpful. It's one of my favorite classes. It's one of my favorite things to teach is how to ward. And you should always be warding deep when you can. And don't be afraid, because people go, oh, that's their territory. It's like, yeah, but who's going to defend it if the Lee Sin's topside? So you need to be able to ward after you pressure. And like right there, this ward is like too shallow. And I talk about this ward in general too. I talk about this is a shitty ward, because this ward should even just be right here. What does this ward get you? This ward got you laziness. This ward is the product of laziness right here. There's no reason to place this ward when you can place this ward. This ward right here. This ward gets you nothing. It gets you nothing. Like, it might even be too tucked into the wall to even get you vision here. This ward gives you shit. This ward is way better. Place it here. Even place it here if you're afraid of them like killing it over the wall or something. But don't place it here. This gets you nothing. Because by the time you see the Lee Sin, it's way too late. By the time you see Pantheon, it gets you nothing. So you want to place it here, and it'll give you more vision here. But even then, you want to place something here, like one of your regular wards that you have. But don't place it here. This is an absolutely terrible spot to ward. And what they can do is they can place a ward in here, and then they can kill it, right? But if you place it over here, and they place a ward in, they have to walk to here to kill it. And that puts them in a more gankable position than if they were here killing this ward. So always use this shit way deeper to force people to come closer to you or put themselves in worse positions if they want to CS. You should never be placing a pink ward like that. And you're only placing pink wards like that if you're trying to control them. Place your pink ward here on this part of the vision, right here. So that's more on your side. And you place green wards here or here. Or I guess trinket wards here in this area. This ward should be here, and this ward should be there. He's getting ganked. Very easy for them to dive because of Aftershock Maokai. No real way for Teemo to escape this. He can flash, but I think he's just dead anyway, right? Yeah. He's just dead anyway. And they don't really have, he doesn't really have any shrooms underneath the turret either. But they get a kill on the bottom side. So now if you're Kassadin, yeah, Kassadin. Kassadin sees this here and starts roaming. I would actually say go to the other side of the map. Like, unless this Maokai gets super, super low, there's no reason to go there. I would say go to the other side of the map. They just killed. So if the Kassadin goes to the other side of the map right now, they make a power play. Because what Kassadin gets to do here is if Kassadin goes bottom side, they just killed Lux. You can dive this Ashe. This is a poor, helpless Ashe against an Alistar Jhin, and if Kassadin comes, free low kill, dude. And if Pantheon comes, it's a 3-on-2, and you have the advantage. You kill the Ashe, Dragon's up in a few seconds. You can get the turret. You can answer the turret. Lee Sin and Maokai can't do shit about it. And then you can just go to the bottom side, kill the Ashe, get damage on the turret, set up for the Dragon. It's much better to do that play. So that's a perfect example of don't try to answer their play, make your own play, right? And as soon as you see the jungler on one side of the map, go to the opposite side. And Nocturne was even on the bottom side of the map. Let me just look at that again really quickly. Nocturne was even on the bottom side of the map before that play happened, I think. Yeah, where was Nocturne? Yeah, Nocturne's on Krugs, right? So Nocturne's on Krugs right now. He's fully capable of making a play. He has his ultimate up. Nocturne should not be backing here with his. He has 1,500 gold. I would still say make the play bottom side and then go do it. You could have 4-man played bottom side right now. You could have literally taken 4 people bot side, gotten turret, killed Ashe, and gotten dragon with a 4-person power play. That's how you play from behind, right? That's how you play from behind, is when they make a play, make your own play. Don't try to answer their play because they're ahead of you. Uh-oh. No, he's good. He's got Swifties. No, and now they're all going to die here. Yeah. If you were able to just kill that Ashe, then you would have been really, like, in a good spot, right? What do you do if your brain has the stupid? Well, then you watch ProGuides and you go to ProGuides.com and hire a challenger coach who will smash these things into your head of what to do. And he'll give you one-on-one coaching. And then maybe he'll cure you of the stupid. What should early game champs do in case they get set behind due to dying? Well, one is you may have actually made a bad play, and you have to think about what that play was, because early game champions, your margin of error is very, very low. You aren't allowed to make a lot of mistakes, right? But the whole point of having an early game champion is that you get to impose your will on the game. So your margin for error is really small. So if you aren't a good enough player to mechanically work with a margin of error that's small, play a champion that has a larger margin of error. But if you get set behind, then what you need to do is you need to find your new window of when you get to make another play. And you have to respect that, because sometimes that means that you actually are out of the game and you have to find a way to not be an early game champion, but be a supportive champion to somebody else later on, right? So you have to be able to figure out as an Elise, like, what is my job now? Am I just like a cocoon bot for like something else? Oh. Yeah. And that's how wards can bait you into like bad things too. Oh, and one more from the Jhin. There you go. Jhin ulti in a few seconds here. 3, 2, 1, ulti. Got him. Got him. There's a TP from behind here from the Maokai. They don't see it, though. The Jhin just warded. It's a little bit too late. He's pinging. He's pinging. He's pinging. He's pinging. He's pinging. Alistar. Ali. Oh. Yep. Nice. Good dodge there on that shit. Good dodge, good dodge. Headbutt him away. Yep. Good, 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 good. Here comes Arrow. Is Arrow going to hit? Arrow's going to hit. Oh, yeah. Just keep running, Jhin. Keep running, keep running, keep running, keep running. There you go. Oh. And hit him with the kill. There you go. Okay. Haha! What happened topside? Wait. He kind of got the idea later of playing with the bush, but a little bit too late. It was a little bit too late. Teemo. Yeah, the Teemo has to play like really defensively. And I see right there that he's like, okay, Maokai's not in my lane. I should do something. He should still be covering himself when he's actually going to push. You can't push without covering yourself there. So the Kassadin and the Jhin are now the win conditions for the blue team. Oh, and the Lux pull into Teemo. He was warding without his team when he has a very strong team. Where's the tier on Kassadin? It's over there. You see it. It's right here. It's like 400 stacked. He went for the Catalyst first because he needed the So Kassadin, no finished item. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. Like, the Rod of Ages might be one that's, like, a little bit iffy when he should have gotten Rod here, but he needed some more early game power, I guess. Oh. Headbutt Pulverized? No? Can't get him. Okay. Oh. Not quite. Uh-oh. Okay. And Lee Sin is just destroying the game because he's level 13. He's so far ahead, and he got a Trinity Force. Ooh, close, close, close. Now the Teemo's come down. This is the part of the game where the Teemo tries to help, but it won't really matter. Oh, here comes the Maokai to dive. Here comes the hit back, dead. At this point in the game, the team should just be giving up the turret and trying to trade top turret for it. Like, maybe Teemo could have pushed for that. But they don't win or get much here. And the Kassadin not scaling with Rod of Ages is a little bit meh. That's some EU ping right there. Yeah, they're just really far behind in levels. If you want to weather this storm, even though it's a 5k gold disadvantage, which doesn't sound like a lot, what is a lot, though, is the level advantage, which is a lot of combat stats. And the person that they have to do is, the person that they have to shut down is this Lee Sin, and this Maokai is fed too, which means it's a lot of armor and stats you have to go through. When tanks are fed and they're ahead, they're just really hard to deal with because they're just a ball of stats that low elo people, in order to dodge this ball of stats, you really have to be on point. High elo people find it a little easier because you just don't put yourself in a position where this ball of stats can reach you. Maokai does have gap closers, of course, but it's much easier to kite when people are working together in higher elo than in lower elo. So it's going to be much harder to deal with this Maokai than it normally would be. That's why tanks are so oppressive later. Or I guess in early, when they get early kills and it's low elo. Tanks feel very, very oppressive. So we're seeing some really like great examples here of what people could have done, right? Like the Kassadin. Yeah, the Kassadin should have bought tier and gone straight for Roa. Yeah. He got the Catalyst, which I think was good for surviving lane. Then he got tier, and I think then he should have finished his Rod of Ages. But I don't think the Kassadin is like a big like offender in this game. I think the Teemo has a lot of places where he messed up playing from behind. He played like he was still even the whole game. You guys notice that? Where he was like, I'm going to cause pressure and make sure my team maybe does something with it. He did like he pulled a Hishinshin. He pulled an old school Hishinshin where you die once and then you just keep throwing yourself at the enemy and you go, where's my team? What is my team doing? Why aren't they getting dragon? There's 2 people here. Like, it doesn't matter if your team isn't getting dragon. The point is they're not getting dragon. So you dying is worth nothing. You didn't really give them an opportunity. You could have just avoided the gank in the first place by actually playing a little better and warding a little better. That's an old school Hishinshin, right? Now Kassadin has a Rod of Ages that'll be fully stacked 34 minutes, 35 minutes. So it's going to take a long time to get there. He still has a lot of scaling to go. So we'll see what happens in this game because I feel like games are still all over the place in lower elo. But this Lee Sin looks like he can maybe close it out. The Kassadin hasn't been put too far behind, but we're seeing, like I said, really good examples of how the Teemo could have avoided ganks, how the Kassadin could have won more, right? Because the Kassadin might be going, you know, I'm not the problem in this game, the Teemo is. But when the Teemo was causing a problem in the game, the Kassadin could have actually gotten advantage somewhere else, right? He could have gone bottom side. He could have actually made a play on the bot side turret, like I said before. They could have gotten that. It's all hindsight speculation. Not really. Like, it's all hindsight now because it's not in the moment. But when that Kassadin play was, when the play where they sent Teemo, the play when they sent Maokai and Lee Sin top the Teemo, I immediately said Kassadin needs to go bottom, right? Because it's not a good play for him to go top. I talked about it at first where I was like, don't answer their play, make your own. When they killed Lux bottom lane, 100%, the Kassadin should have gone bottom. They could have killed Ashe. There was no TP to answer. 4v2, 4v1 on the bottom side. 2 if Pantheon shows up. They get the Lux. They get the Pantheon if he shows up as well. You kill the bottom turret. You get the Infernal Drake. It was actually such an easy play to make. and they missed it, right? Because the Kassadin didn't ping for it, and the Kassadin didn't make the play. Ooh, that didn't root. Yeah, now they're kind of making their own play on the top side of the map, but they send 4 people, and then they have to recall, and it's not really worth anything, because they aren't actually getting anything done here. So, at this point in the game, it becomes a little bit too late to make that play. It's still like the right idea, but it's way too late for it. So now it's going to be a Baron attempt setup here for the red team. They have the Maokai to tank it. They see the Jhin is bottom side. They'll just go for it. There aren't enough like shrooms here to even stop them. Normally a Teemo will have shrooms set up that will like stop somebody from maybe doing the Baron or walking into it. Lee Sin's the only one on it. Jhin is really, really late to this. That was really good from the Maokai to hold his Q while the Nocturne had Spell Shield on. Okay, now the Alistar's dead. Ooh. Ooh, okay. Let's see what the Lee Sin did here. He went over. Wow. The Stormrazor. The Stormrazor did so much. He blasted him, dude. A Stormrazor, Trinity Force did so much damage there. That's like the mega snowball from the Lee Sin. Yeah, absolutely disgusting there. Because he also has a double Infernal Drake too, right? So he has a little bit extra in the tank. The Teemo flashed to try and drag the Maokai under turret, but he actually wasn't Wing to him. So, you say jungle difference, but it's actually, I would say it's top diff this game because the top laner didn't really play around anything. And the jungler kind of got like wrapped into it. Granted, the Lee Sin is a better player, is what it seems like, is he's a better player. But it's easier for him to actually show off now because the state that the game is in, right? So, even though people will say it's jungle difference, the Lee Sin is a better player than the Nocturne, but that's not the difference this game. The difference is that the Lee Sin got kills off of top lane, playing a little bit like a bonobo. You know? He wasn't warding correctly. He obviously, like, doesn't know what he's doing in the top side. So it was like a little bit... It's easy to say jungle difference, but I would say it's more so on the fact that the jungle got fed. Because if this bottom lane was giving up kills over and over and over and over again, and the Nocturne was fed, all the Nocturne would have to do is press R on the Ashe and just kill her again, right? So it's so easy to look good once you get ahead, especially as a jungler. It's so easy to look good. And then have it be jungle difference. Because he could have gotten to a point where he just presses R on Ashe over and over again, right? And it's just the insta-kill from the Nocturne. So once you get ahead as a jungler, you have to look at where it came from. It was pretty much free. But yeah, no, we saw some really good kind of examples for the mid lane and the top lane here of like what you should be doing. What you should be doing in these games. And he's dead. But what you should be doing in these games when you see what's going on the minimap, right? When you have a top lane that's behind, the Kassadin can make a roam to the bottom side, right? The jungler could be playing to the bottom side a little harder because the top lane is not going to be where you get your advantage here. The Jhin looked like he was doing a lot of work. The fact that the tier 1 bottom lane turret is still up is actually incredible to me because you shouldn't have an 0-6 Teemo top side, it was like 6-1 Jhin at one point, and still have that bottom lane tier 1 be up. Instead, you should be using your Kassadin as a point of power, pivoting him to the bottom side before things get out of control, and then just snowballing through bot side. Because if they're going to get 300 gold top side, you at least need to get 300 gold somewhere else, right? To even it up. Otherwise, it's just not worth doing anything. Like, you aren't doing anything on the map that's effective. And dead to a Q? No, dead to a W. Okay. You're rusty? Yeah. That's all right. Like, at the end of the day, Ivan, like, it's going to sound like flame, but I think it's like, it should be taken more as constructive feedback. Granted, saying that you're playing like a bonobo is more for comedic effect, but I would say that there's a lot of good things to look at in this game, where you should look at when you're rewarding, how you're rewarding, and what you were trying to accomplish by playing so far up all the time versus what you could have been doing, because it's an opportunity cost. When you place a ward one place, you can't have it in the other place, right? When you place shrooms in one place, you can't really have them in another place. So it's always an opportunity cost of what you could have been doing with your time. And I think that's kind of what we saw here with Cassidy. Cassidy's not the reason you guys lost the game. Cassidy's the reason you guys didn't get to win the game, though, right? Because he had an advantage, and I know this sounds terrible because it's like you feel like you're the least responsible player for the loss, but you also didn't help your team win the game in like the highest way you could. Because if you want to climb out of silver, if you want to climb out of bronze, you have to be able to identify what we talked about there, right? Where when they went top, you stayed mid, and you worried too much about CS. Go bottom. They just killed bottom lane. When you have a winning lane, think just like the jungler when you're playing mid. Think just like the jungler. When the jungler is going to go gank a winning lane, and their losing lane gets killed, you don't go, oh, I'm going to go help my losing lane. You go, no, I'm going to go... You're not going to go pick up the scraps from your losing lane. You're not going to be like, oh, they turret dove him and 2 people were low. You're going to go make a play on the opposite side. You're going to go destroy that bottom lane, and you're going to go get that turret. Go make a play on a powerful side of the map. There's a strong side and a weak side of your map, almost always. Almost always. And even if it's not in gold, it's where the enemy jungler is. Because the map is played with 5 people. You can have 2 people top. That means that 3 people are on the bottom side. Which means if they just killed 1 person top, you can make a 4v3 power play on the bottom side. That is your strong side of the map, right? Just go bot side. There's always a strong side of the map. There is always a strong side of the map. And that's because the map is asymmetrical and the jungler roams between sides. There's always a strong side of the map. And you should answer on the opposite side from your enemy's strong side. And you should play to yours. And in this game, identifying that, I think, is something that you do to play from behind, to get back into it. If you're roaming and you're missing a lot of farm cloud YR, what you should be doing is you should be shoving the wave first. Always. We had a wave management course a few weeks ago, or a week ago. And you can find that live stream, I think it's somewhere in the VODs, where we talked about how to lose the minimum. And then we saw Katarina do exactly that. He would roam all the time after shoving, and he would lose anywhere from 1 to 3 minions, and that's it. Just 1 to 3 minions every single time. And that's what you should be doing with your wave clear. Oof. He's really tanky. He's a really tanky boy. They just have so many stats, they just get to walk into you right now. Yeah, he can tank that turret forever. He's got so much. This game is basically over at this point. 1, Dragon Soul. 2, it's a 15k gold advantage. And that's almost insurmountable at 34 minutes. At that point, you have to wait for your enemy to make mistakes. Everything that you did up until this point to try and, like, play from behind, the way to play from behind now is to lose the minimum and hope that your enemy messes up. I know that sounds terrible, but it's the reality of the situation. Is if your opponents got to this point, they're just, you know, they're just something that I would say is good enough to get that much of an advantage that you have to respect that they're good enough to maybe not throw. But you have to kind of, I would say, cede this to them at that point, because there's not much you can do. It's out of your hands, right? And sometimes things just are out of your hands. You have to be able to identify when that happens and what you need to do. Because before it was in your hands and you weren't able to do much, right? Because they weren't able to find the opportunities. The Teemo wasn't able to identify when he needed to play right, and when also the mid lane didn't identify when he had the chance to roam. But also it's something where, like, maybe the Alistar didn't roam as much as well, right? If we watch the Alistar, I'm sure we'd find more opportunities where he would be able to kind of move around the map. How to carry a support when all lanes is feeding. Even AD carries have trash positioning, support thresh. What you need to do then is you need to roam. You need to put down your wards, and you need to constantly gank and make picks. You have to make picks off of wards that you're placing. You have to sweep and place, buy multiple pinks, and just make the pinks kind of spots where you will have the mid laner roam to you, go bottom, or stand in a spot with your mid laner. You have to make multi-man picks. So like you and your support, you and your AD or you and your mid laner need to stand in a bush and wait for somebody to come by, and then you just get to destroy them. But that's basically the options that you have if everybody else is feeding. Legend of the Rift, Zirene, can you tell me what I did wrong earlier? Who is this? Which person are you in the game? As Lee? Okay, it looks like it's ending. Let's check. Because... Alright, are you doing the 3? Okay, you did a full clear. Then you stayed mid a bit. I don't know. I think you got spotted there. Yeah, you got spotted there, which unfortunately means that the Teemo... This gank shouldn't work, to be honest. So you're given like a freebie here because you went mid lane to see if like he was gonna go ahead and fight. But I'm pretty sure you get spotted here, right? I'm pretty sure you get spotted here. When do you come out? Let's see this. Okay, this is dead. I was pretty sure you got spotted. Did you not get spotted? Where is it? This one? No. Maybe you don't get spotted? Let's see. Yeah, you got spotted really quickly. So they should know that you were playing a little bit to this side. The Teemo should have warded then. He's actually playing really poorly. He should have warded right now. Even mostly because they would know that you leashed bottom side. So the Teemo played really poorly here. Should have warded much earlier because he already had the wave push. He should have warded. His free gank. It was a really good job here. He blows his flash too, which sucks for him. Then you did a really good job of doing scuttle and waiting. This is a bad TP from him too. So you actually kind of took advantage of like a really bad laner because there's nothing for him to TP for. It's like 5 minions. Even if he TP'd to the wave, he'd only get like maybe 2-3 of them, but he'd be very gankable. You did a good job of playing to your lane that can gank because Kassadin, you know, even though you want to gank Kassadin early, not many opportunities. You tried it early. You went to this lane. This one, you don't really want to gank the Alistar. It relies on these guys getting the skill shot. This is point and click. I like that you played to that lane and you started bottom side to go to top. I thought that was really good. He did get the ward off. He backed. You do your full clear. And then you came back around. You waited for him to go. He gets the W, and then just really, really well done there by playing to that lane again. Like, this is what wins you games, guys, is camping the same lane. Because it makes somebody go crazy. They lose all this CS to the turret. You stack this wave. This was kind of, I think you kind of have to lose this because they're doing the right thing and getting an objective while you're topside. So they played it right here. This, I think, was a little strange. Where, like, I think you actually maybe could have collapsed here. Because that's a half HP Nocturne. They're hitting that guy. I think right here you could follow the Jhin. Because maybe it wasn't communicated to you because the Jhin doesn't have flash and you do. And I think maybe that could have been an opportunity if you guys had collapsed. Now you don't have your mid laner here, but the Kassadin is still farming under turret. Your Pantheon is 6, so he may have been able to actually join if something did go down. So that may have been an opportunity to win more just a little bit. Just a little. But I respect that you have an advantage and you want to maintain it. So now you're going to do this, and then you're going to go do your blue and your Gromp the second time. And you're going to path back top, right? Yeah, you're just doing full clear. Okay, are you going enemy red? Okay, you're going enemy red because you're stronger than him. Which is actually really good. Kind of lucky that he, like, isn't face-checking you with the, It's a little lucky that he's not face-checking you with the Kassadin. But you go to the red. You wait. You start it. A little unlucky that he's there. The casting doesn't move. Kind of bad from him. He doesn't move fast enough. Takes him a while. Like, the Nocturne doesn't ping you, actually. Nocturne doesn't ping. Nocturne, you should have pinged this. You should have pinged this real hard. You should have been pinging, like, help, 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 help. As soon as you saw that. As soon as you saw the Q on it, you should have just been pinging help, help, help. You place your control ward down. Good. You should have been pinging to help. Even if you think you can take him by yourself. Even if you think you can take him by yourself. You should have been pinging him. The Nocturne should have been pinging you immediately. This would have been a faster response from these two and him. Because they don't move forever. They don't move for a long time. So they should have been moving faster. You should have pinged him. You also should have, after warding, play on the other side of the red buff. You know it's Lee Sin. You know it's Lee Sin. You're in no hurry. Play on the other side of the red buff. You have vision. He's got to kill your ward and stay there for 4 hits. Also, it looks like you feared the red buff instead. So, like, absolute, like, spaghetti. Yeah, it's like a big... It's like a... That's some al dente keyboard right there, sir. That's a little bit of the... Oof. Yeah. So I would say you did well, but I think you didn't get punished a lot because it's silver. Because 1, no pings. 2, people didn't rotate. 3, he misplayed in terms of what he even did here, in terms of positioning plus that. But that's like the second time that's happened. So I think you do get a little bit away with murder here. Okay, that was a little bit of a meh thing. The Pantheon, like, stayed there, and, like, I think he lagged. This is where you're talking about, where he lagged or something. Because he doesn't come around. I think he maybe DCs here. Yeah, but it's kind of like, this position shouldn't have even been a good position for you anyway, because I think they should have collapsed on you earlier. Yeah, it's just a really aggressive play, despite the Pantheon. It's something you get away with in silver, but you won't get away with in platinum. Yeah, Jhin flashed on you there, and he healed as well. Like, you got flash, heal, exhaust from people. Like, you got a lot of summoner spells for that, but I don't think they should have been in that position anyway. Like, saying this is a good play is results-based analysis because it worked. That's like I've talked about this before. That's like playing Hearthstone, and you have a 50-50 card that will win you the game, and you play the card that wins you the game 25% of the time instead. So you play the 25% and it works, and you go, oh, that was the right play. No, it wasn't the right play. It was right because it landed on the 25% instead of the 75% chance that it doesn't work, but the 50-50 card was statistically the better play to make there. Here, I don't think this is a good play because if this was higher elo, then they would have punished you. Sure, this works this time, but it won't work every time, right? This won't work every time. And in fact, it has a smaller percentage chance to work because of the fact that you don't have priority mid, your bottom lane doesn't have priority either, right? So the fact that your mid and bot don't have priority, and you basically get away with murder here, I would say. It's not actually that good of a play. And, you know, the Pantheon thing, I don't care. I don't even care about the second half of the play where you get punished. I care about the first half of the play. I don't think it's that good of a play. I think this is a much better play where you go to the top side after. Super good play here to take that away. And then you're in the right spot. You understand where he's going to go. He pings. You come out. Good kill. And then you guys go dragon. Yeah. So good dragon kill here. You know what's funny is right now I would start doing my jungle, and then I would go back up top side. It's because Rift Herald's on top. I don't even remember what happens this game, so I'm like just saying what I would do. I would go top side. Yeah, Rift Herald's on top. Go do Rift Herald. Cool. Get the Scuttle Crab. I would go place the... I would have actually... what would I have done there? I would have been really greedy. I would have done something different. What I would have done is I would have taken this, and then I would have gone to here as soon as possible, and I would have just Rift Heralded to try and get the plates before they wear off in 20 seconds. So I would have like done it, and then I would have immediately gone and tried to place it down and get plates because the Teemo died. So I would have like greeted for plates topside for extra gold. And then I would have come back for Scuttle Crab. I like to roam down bottom straight through mid. It's like really high tempo play. Yeah, then you use Rift Herald bottom. It doesn't get the turret. Yeah, I think it was better to use it top for plates. It was like, Zirene, no time? No. So, okay. So, well, let's watch this, okay? Let's watch this. Oh, I'll check this really quickly. When does he press it? When does he press it? Okay, he presses it at 53. Takes about 4 seconds to come out. Walks over here. 10 seconds. Okay, so it takes about 13 seconds to crash into the turret. When it was here, yeah. So when it was here, smite it, kill it, grab it, run right here. Run right here. Place it over the wall. And that's the same distance, right? It'll walk from here to here, charge into it, you'll get plates. You have time. You have time. You have just enough time. Yeah, you have like a extra 3 seconds too. Yeah. Yeah, you have like could have done it. But it's millimetrical? What do you mean? This distance here versus this distance here where you place it over the wall, it's like about the same. And you even have extra 3 seconds or so window. But I'm just saying, like, plates, 2 plates would have been a little bit more. The angles it has to take. So you place it over the wall, it'll go like burp, and it'll walk here, and it actually cuts this corner, and it goes here, and then it'll charge. So it's actually got like enough time. Like, hold on. If you want, after this, I will go into practice tool. I will walk from here to here, place it over the wall, and show you how long it takes. If you really want that. All right, so following Lee Sin. Lee Sin backs. I like that he makes a high tempo play here because he knew that this guy was on the bottom side. Gonna go to the top side. Go for the dive. Easy kill. With the Lee Sin. This is where Nocturne. This is where Nocturne messed up and Caston because they could have gone bottom. So you're just making high tempo plays and they can't really answer you because you're so far ahead now. Now you get to make a play around the bot side. You get to go to the dragon. I like the defending of what you guys have. Go in, get the 2 kills. The 3rd kill, you push him out. Now it's time to go do dragon. I like that you pull off of things very quickly. I feel like you may not be a silver player. I feel like you're a little bit higher than that for sure. Because you aren't committing to things super hard. You're able to disengage and you don't get blood in your eyes, which I think is a little bit more unusual. I'm X gold 2. Okay, so you're gold 2, which is, in my opinion, basically plat 4. Because it used to be plat 5, basically. So you're like kind of a gold player / platinum player. You're like gold to plat. Which makes sense in this game especially. Because you aren't getting punished for like silver things. But you're doing like gold platinum things. You're doing gold platinum things as in like you're doing good things. But you're doing things that will get punished and aren't like completely optimal. That if you played in like diamond or like high platinum, they probably would be punished. Yeah, that was a good kill there because the Maokai went bottom, so you covered for him topside. Now you're just going to go ahead and punish. You don't see the Nocturne doing this to you ever, right? You don't see the Nocturne ever doing this to you where he gets to go into your jungle. So you just get to punish him. You have the mobility. You get Trinity Force. Really greedy buy, but it works out. This is like the snowball style. Yeah, these are all fine. You maximize getting your HP back with your W. Get the kill again. Get the big shutdown on the guy who's like 7-1. Yeah, so you're just doing a really good job here of I feel like outclassing your opponents by just getting small little advantages over and over and over again, which allows you to make easier plays. So that's the thing is like, once I get your jungle 2 times over and I have 50 CS over you and I just keep snowballing your jungle over and over again, if I run into you, I just beat you, right? I just beat you one-on-one. If I don't run into you and I just get the CS, then the next time I run into you, I have more gold than you. So I'll just be able to kill you very easily. And that's basically what we saw happen there, is that you create these small advantages that add up over and over again, and they end up a big advantage. Because that's what gold and silver players see, or I guess like bronze and silver players see, is they're like, oh, I need the kill. Well, and actually, you like, if you can get the kill and the jungle, or if you can get just the jungle and get it for free, then just keep doing that over and over and over again. Is there any big mistakes you notice on my part? Ash. I would have to look through it again, and we only have time for a little bit more, so I think I'll go back one more time and just look at what you do early, okay? Because the Jhin did get ahead of you, and you weren't really punished heavily. Okay, this trade was a little bit bad. I think you walk back up again. Yeah, this is where you walk back up, and then you almost get killed there. I actually think you guys are lucky that the Alistar, I think he misplayed that, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think he misplayed the beginning of that, right? So he does that. Oh yeah, he doesn't exhaust you. That's what I thought. I was like, he doesn't exhaust you, which I thought would have been like absolute killer there. Because he has exhaust. Even if he had ignite, I feel like that's the killer there too. But the Alistar didn't really do much there. So you kind of got away with a play that shouldn't have been good. Then he comes back. And you guys back at the right time. I think that's fine. Then they get to stack a wave. And then there's like a similar play that happens. I mean, it's kind of hard to play against the Alistar's Lux for sure. They bounce the wave. They wait back. The Alistar wants to get it back off. He even has Hex Flash, so I'm not sure why he didn't, like, Flash Pulverize, headbutt you into the team. So they get the dragon. Oh, yeah. That was the other thing, too. You didn't get Hawk Shot, which I thought was, like, really strange. Is that I was like, wow, the Lee Sin's tracking the jungle, and I don't think I've seen any Hawk Shots go by. A Hawk Shot is such a powerful ability if you throw it across camps, because like you're even level 5, you don't have Hawk Shot. I would say 100% you have to Hawk Shot. This could have been frozen by Jhin Alistar when Ashe looks back. Yeah, no, I agree. Like when it came back to them here. But I feel like the Jhin Alistar are trying to be really aggressive. And they didn't want to freeze there because they wanted to do Dragon, which is okay, but yeah, the fact that you don't have Hawk Shot, like, oof. Because, like, you could help your Lee Sin out so much. Like, if you stand here and you shoot a Hawk Shot to here, it's just going to go, like, it's going to go here. It's going to show you the red cooldown. It's going to show you the Raptor cooldown. It might show you Wolves. And it'll show you, like, it'll show you this. It'll show you the blue. So you'll actually get the cooldown on these two. So you'll see if these are up or not. And if you can see where things are up, like, if his Raptors are up, and his blue isn't, then you know that he's going to be on bot side soon. So you can, the thing about Hawkshot is you can infer information. So if I see that his wolves are up or his Gromp is up, I know he's going to go top side soon, right? So if I see his Raptors are down and his Gromp is up by shooting it across this, then I know he's going to go top side because that's where the experience is. Lee could have just got the gank off, then rotate Drake and deny even more CS. No. Because Lee Sin was top. Lee Sin was top, dude. That's why they went Dragon. Is because Lee Sin was top. Lee Sin ganked top. That's why the Nocturne went Dragon. Because Lee Sin's here, right? So then Nocturne actually messes this up. And he should have gone straight to the Dragon, right? And now he makes it across to here. Oh, wait, no. That's when he ganks again. Sorry. The second time he ganks it. He actually should have gone there first anyway when he was topside. But now he's like, oh, I'm on this side. Lee Sin's there. And he's like, okay. Now he goes and does dragon. He should have been a little bit faster on the dragon pickup, but it's whatever. I don't think they could have frozen this, though, and Lee Sin could have gotten a gank off, because I feel like the Nocturne should have just been here earlier, and they should have gotten the dragon for the topside gank anyway. Yeah. Lee should have reset it after red. After his own red? Well, he went... Wait. Yeah, he went for this gank. Went for Scuttle, because it's like a neutral objective. Then he went for the kill. Then he went to red. Oh, he went to Krugs, yeah. Well, he went for another gank, though. That's why he did that. He did a full clear here, and then he went for another gank. So Lee Sin thought it was better to, like, camp the top side, who has no TP, than it was to do that. So I actually think that's fine, because then he backs, right? If you think that's better than, like, this, then I don't know, because he has no TP. He's going to lose this wave. I think that's fine. I actually think that's a fine play. I think it's okay to give up dragons early. I think it's okay to give up dragons early to, like, smash the top lane really hard. Because it is one dragon. It's not going to make a big difference. It's, like, kind of the thing that you give up. It's a consolation prize. I'd rather keep the pressure up. I'd rather keep the pressure up and give my Maokai an opportunity to freeze and then come back to the lane, right? Because if I gank this lane, again, he gets into the turret. He can bounce it off the turret, create this freeze here, and then I can come back to that lane later. But he doesn't keep it frozen, even though he's stronger. I think he could have kept it frozen. Yeah, anyway, let's go to the Ashe again. The Hawkshot, I think, is like a #1 thing. The Hawkshot so far. Okay. Yeah. That was a weird situation. Everything's kind of all over the place. But it's not like Maokai's an Ashe or a Jhin. I personally don't give a fuck about that because it still kills on me. And the Maokai is really easy to gank for. So him freezing allows the Teemo to not get anything in the game. And he's a ranged top laner versus this guy who is AP. I don't know. I feel like it's still better. I really don't give a fuck about that. It's still, I think it's still better. A dragon that gives you 10% cooldown is not a big thing. It's not a big thing for your ultimate when you're in a game where people still don't have their ultimates yet. It's not that big of a factor just yet. I would say it's much more worth it here. Plus the Maokai, he showed the... It's funny because the Maokai even said he watched the lane freezing class. He already did that. Like, he was doing it a little bit, and he knew what he was doing in the top side. So he knew kind of what he wanted to do with it. And then we get the second Drake. That's fine. Like, the way that the game works right now is... Here's my optimal play. If you guys want to know what my optimal play is as jungle, it's gank top lane early, set it so far behind that I never have to care about that lane again, and then perma-gank bottom lane. Because if the enemy jungler goes top lane any point after the first dragon, I get every dragon afterwards. And then my top laner can smash top lane hard enough that his TPs are better, and he can show up. So I actually prefer ganking top lane early, because I don't really want to go top lane later in the game. I don't want to go top lane later, because if I go top lane later in the game, then I give up dragons. And those dragons, I think, are more important, because the 4% like AD, or the extra cooldown reduction on things, or whatever. It's only Ocean Drake is the one that I will only contest early, because the Ocean Drake is the most powerful single Drake that you can get. But I would say going top lane and ganking it early is the best time to do it because there's no other good time to do it in the game, right? And I don't mind giving up one dragon early as long as it's not Ocean Drake to gank top lane. If I gank bottom lane for the rest of the game and get them ahead, then I feel like that's kind of where, you know, things come to fruition. But if I can get like a Rift Herald or something off top side, or I can get like a... If I can get this guy further ahead and he's like a mega carry, then absolutely. But now it's like if Nocturne ever goes top side and there's an objective up, like he just loses it to gank a lane that's already in my favor, so... Let's see. When was the first big mess up here for the bot side? There's your Hawkshot. Wait, what did you do with Hawkshot? It's always better to go across jungle camps, in my opinion. It's always better to go across jungle camps. Or to go here if somebody is backing and you know that they're backing. And you can see where they're going. It takes a little bit of timing to get it right with Ashe, but if you know somebody's backing, you can then see, excuse me, where they're going if you think it's like a lane swap. Okay, so your Lux died and you play safe, which is good. Good engage. You have like a cast in between. Maybe could have played a little bit further up for the Kassadin as the Ashe there, because I don't think you're like, I don't think you should be afraid of being killed by a Kassadin this early on. Like here, I think you maybe could have walked up more instead of back. I think it's fine. Just help your team zone a little. You want the CS, that's good. You guys get it in. You back up. Back in a safe spot. Good. Get Essence Reaver. This is where I think you should have been absolutely screwed. I think you should have been killed here. I actually think you should have been killed here. Your Lux dies. Kassadin goes to the top side. Nocturne backs instead. Not really aware of what's going on in the game. They could have made a play here. Did you just... Okay, good. Yep. Good job. The ward goes down. They sweep it. It's whatever. The dragon's coming up. You guys already have control. You don't die, which is good. You're showing up to the fight. Better late than never. Group up with your team. There, maybe could have pushed for bottom, but that's maybe a little bit hindsight, assessing the fight before it ends. Yeah, you're getting good damage off. You guys are definitely pressuring a little bit more than them. Jin's getting kills from other places, not necessarily from you. That right there, I think, is a bit of a misplay. You should hawkshot or ward the bush. So right here, if this play's happening around this bush, just hawkshot here or place your ward down. Right? Because you lose vision of him here, right? Yeah. And then you have to face check him. And that's like the worst thing you can do versus an Alistar. So there's just a little micro thing. Yeah, is that you should ward that bush when you get your ward. Oh, when do you get it? Oh, even a control ward's fine, I think, actually. But you should hawkshot it because you have hawkshot. It's one of the things about Ashe. I feel like maybe you're not utilizing hawkshot enough. Because a hawkshot doesn't cost any mana either. It's free. So you'd be hawkshotting that bush to see him. Good, let's see. Yeah, the fact you walk up gets you headbutted. Yeah, I didn't even notice that, but it gets you headbutted. And then you get killed because of that. Whereas you maybe could have kited a little bit better if you had actually seen what was going on in the bush. Maybe unfamiliarity or like comfort with Ashe, but yeah. Let's wait for Ashe to come back. You have 2 hawk shots. You might as well throw one out right now. Maybe to see the cooldowns of camps or something. Okay. Go for the red. I like that rotation. The Lux is a little bit caught, though. She's a little slow on it. Does she hesitate here? No. She's just slow. She's just a little bit slow. Yeah, the Lux wasn't on the same page, which means that your pressure's a little bit ruined. You gotta play back. So overall, it's like, it's a lot of tiny micro things, using Hawkshot, utilizing that. But you have the right idea of like showing up at the places that you should be. the rotations, trying to make things happen. But you did a decent job from playing from, I would say, an ahead position in lane pressure, but not having, I think, as good of a support in terms of pressure. You had a better jungler, so you didn't really have to worry about the Nocturne. But I feel like in this game, as Ashe, you probably should have had to worry about the Nocturne more. I'm surprised you didn't get Nocturne ultied, like, on cooldown, basically. So it's a hard game to assess from, like, a perfection standpoint. But I would say there's a lot of things that you didn't get punished for. You didn't get punished for walking up ever. You didn't get punished for walking up and getting exhausted or ignited in the first one. Whereas I think better players would have done that. Nocturne probably would have been ulting you on cooldown because you're the best ulti target. Don't really want to ulti Pantheon because of his shield. Don't want to ulti Nocturne or the Maokai. You should be the primary target every single time. And he can use his W to absorb your ulti or whatever, and you should be hawkshotting a little bit more frequently. And in places that give you jungle cooldowns, because jungle cooldowns, it helps your jungler ward, and it also lets you understand and infer information of if the jungler is here, you see him. If he's not here, you know where he will be soon. So, okay. I think that's. I think we're going overtime. It's 1 o'clock already. We've been doing this for a while, so we're actually going to close this one out. We talked a bit. I think mostly instead of getting into the nitty gritty and giving people like direct feedback. I think the big highlights of this were kind of what the Teemo was doing to not prevent the bleeding from continuing. And then also, I think the other thing is we saw that the Kassadin had opportunities to carry the game. His team did prevent him from doing that a little bit, but also they lost track of their win condition. The Nocturne was kind of trying to stop the Teemo from feeding, and the Kassadin wasn't helping the bottom lane either. When you have a Jhin that's ahead like that, these two guys should, everybody else on your team who's not the top laner should immediately go. That's where we go. We go bot lane. We make something else happen in this game besides what's been going on so far, which has just been our top laner getting killed, right? Don't buy into that. Go somewhere else and make a bigger play there. I think the Nocturne did it early, but didn't continue to do it. Cecily said he's X-Gold too. He should have been able to put his team ahead and keep enemies behind since their team was the scaling one. Well, no, absolutely, bro. That's what I'm saying here is Nocturne should have been able to go to a different side of the map, and that Nocturne would have been able to do something else in this game. Play to the Jhin, the Kassadin, same thing. But somebody said it was like jungle difference, and I was like, yes, there is the difference between the junglers, but I think it was really top lane difference was the idea here. I don't think it's actually jungle difference. The jungle is not the reason they lost the game. The jungle is one of the reasons they didn't win the game, but I don't feel like they were detrimental to it. But if they were better at actually playing the game compared to like the Lee Sin, then absolutely there's more opportunities here. There's absolutely more opportunities. But anyway, I hope you guys learned something today. I hope you guys will understand a little bit better how to play from behind and what to do. I think another thing, if you don't take away anything else from today, is if you're pinging people that somebody's MIA, ping on them, right? Ping on them. I think that's like the most practical thing here too. It's like ping on the person. Don't ping like in between you and him on the scuttle crab. Ping on their screen because they like seeing the big red thing, right? They like seeing the question mark on them. So I think that's a better use of those tiny little things. So I hope you guys learned something here today. I believe there's going to be another lesson later today at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, which is in about 3.5 hours. I don't think I'm going to be doing it. Somebody else is going to be doing it, and I'm really excited to watch that. But I hope you guys tune in. That's in 3.5 hours at 4:30 Pacific. We will be doing these every weekday from Monday to Friday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific and 4:30 p.m. Pacific. So usually the ones in the morning will be focused a little bit more on Europe sometimes, not always, but they will be most of the time. And then the one later in the day will be focused on North America and also different lessons with guests and whatnot. So hopefully you guys tune into that. Once again, that's Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m., 4:30 p.m., every single day of the week except for Saturday, Sunday. And that's in Pacific time. So I hope you guys learned something here today. I hope you have a good one. I'll see you at the later stream, and hopefully you guys learned something about playing from behind today. So if you get behind, don't fret. There's always something that you can do. Sometimes it gets way too out of control later, but when you start getting behind, there's always something you can do to get back into the game. And I hope you guys now have a little bit better chance of winning those games where they don't always start off on the right foot. So until next time, you guys, I will see you later. Hopefully you subscribe to the YouTube channel and you follow and you make sure that you watch these live streams. But I've been having a ton of fun with these. I hope you guys have been too. And you know what? Until next time, I'll see you guys on Summoner's Rift. All right. Have a good one.